Chapter 183. After Akira Uchiha explained the details of the mission, he quickly left the office. He had to leave. The four people in the room kept staring at him, which made him feel a lot of pressure. Especially the third Naruto Flying Ape Nichiren. If it weren't for the presence of other people, Akira Uchiha thought that he would definitely rush over and beat him up. However, Flying Ape Nichiren can't be blamed for this. He was already in a terrible fix. After all, there was too much information. He said that he had to take 2 quick-acting heart pills before he could continue the meeting. What do you think about this matter? After a pause, he asked the others. If you say that Daimyo didn't know about this, I will never believe it. Shimura Danzo was the first to jump out as usual. He was very confident when he said this. Sacrificing the interests of some people in the village in exchange for greater benefits, and then letting his subordinates take the blame, while at the same time saying that he didn't know about it. He was the most skilled at doing this kind of thing. So Danzo said that he can see through this kind of trick at a glance. The only difference is that this time, Daimyo chose to sacrifice the interests of Konoha in exchange for a sharp increase in personal wealth. As the target of the sacrifice, Danzo felt extremely angry. Damn it! This kind of thing should be done by me, how can I be used by others? So he was very angry. But now is the most critical moment of the war. Is it really good to have a falling out with Daimyo? Mito Manitis pushed his glasses. Sakura Shinobu Village is a good example. Yes, Sakura Shinobu Village is indeed a good example. Now, the 3 generations of Kazekage has become the laughingstock of the entire ninja world. He and Daimyo didn't get along well, which led to Daimyo embezzling the funds of Sakura Shinobu Village, so now he can only take Raza around the desert to find gold, under the guise of training in ninjutsu. So, if you want to become a Kazekage in Sand Village, the most important thing is not strength, but the unique skill of finding gold. This was a fine tradition passed down from the 2nd generation. Meng Yen, what you said makes sense. Sarutobi sighed. We can't go against the daimyo now. Hearing his tone, everyone knew that the Flying Ape Nichiren was trying to smooth things over again. After all, the big names held a huge amount of wealth in their hands. During peacetime, Woodleaf can rely on ninja missions to maintain his operations, but when war breaks out, he needs the support of daimyo. Danzo slammed the table and continued with a tough attitude. It's precisely because of this critical moment that I must warn the daimyo to restrain themselves. This is the Shinobi World War. Every day of delay is a huge burden on the village. We can't be held back by the great manner. We have to beat him up and let him know who is protecting the Fire Nation. Shimura Danzo's saliva splashed all over Flying Ape Nichiren's face. Flying Ape Nichiren had no choice but to look away. What do you think, Koharu? Sure enough, after looking away, Flying Ape Nichiren felt much better. I also think that we can't continue to let this go. Koharu hesitated for a moment and said, what we need now is to quickly end the war with the Sand Village, not get caught in the quagmire of war. Hearing this sentence, Danzo immediately put on a calm look, but he still couldn't hide the proud look on his face. As the brain of the 4-person team, Koharu's words generally get the approval of most people. However, now is not the right time to have a showdown with the daimyo. Koharu continued. Then you. Flying Ape Nichiren expressed his doubts. We can't have a showdown, but it doesn't mean that we can't monitor him. Didn't the daimyo write a letter to protect him? Then give it to him. Koharu said lightly. Not only that, we have to secretly facilitate the transaction between the daimyo and the Sand Village. If there's any trouble, we'll ambush the 2 sides at the place of the transaction. Good idea, you're really the most black-bellied in our team. No. You're the strongest brain, the strongest brain. Flying Ape Nichiren wiped the sweat on his head and accidentally said what was in his heart. However, this method is really a good one. After annihilating the Sand Shinobis, they can pack the food and send it to Konoha. This way they can save up the food and sell it to the Earth country that has already surrendered at a high price. They can also make a small profit. Thinking of this, Flying Ape Nichiren's smile almost reached the back of his head. Then who will protect the daimyo? Mito Manitis pushed up his glasses. and a light flashed in his eyes. It's not so easy to choose this person. Protecting the daimyo seems easy, it seems to be away from the war, but in fact, it's very tiring. After all, assassinations of daimyos had happened before. If the daimyo is in trouble, then the guarding ninja will have to bear a heavy responsibility. It can be said that it's a completely unrewarding task. Therefore, this is the reason why Flying Ape Nichiren is not willing to send people to protect the daimyo. It's better to let the daimyo form his own guarding ninja, he can rest assured, and Flying Ape Nichiren won't have to worry. Therefore, this task may seem glamorous, but it's actually not easy to complete. Since it's such a difficult task, who should I give it to? The Black Ops? Root. The four of them looked at each other. That's right, after confirming with each other's eyes, they all understood each other's inner thoughts. That's right, the security department. Let the Uchiha clan go, this time Root won't fight for this credit. Danzo immediately said humbly. Yeah, Uchiha Mountain took good care of the Woodleaf clan's security work. After all, the capable people do more work, and now the opportunity is here. Mito Manitas's expression was as if he was thinking for the Uchiha clan. Well, the daimyo asked for someone famous to protect him. Is there anyone more famous than the Uchiha clan? Koharu said no. Well, what you said makes sense, then it's the Uchiha clan. Flying Ape Nichiren immediately decided. Uchiha Mountain has asked Flying Ape Nichiren to go to the battlefield more than once or twice. He has seen the Hyuga clan make great contributions, and he has been jealous for a long time. Although the Shinobi World War is full of death, there are also a lot of opportunities. As long as you make a great contribution, you will get a lot of reputation in an instant. Therefore, if you want to become a Naruto, you can't do it without reputation. Uchiha Mountain's son Uchiha Fugaku is still young, but he has the Uchiha clan as his background. So as long as you make a little contribution, and then find a few extras to promote in Woodleaf clan, a new genius will be born. Therefore, Uchiha Mountain has talked to Flying Ape Nichiren about this matter many times. The first clan wants to go to the battlefield, Flying Ape Nichiren has no reason to stop them. Otherwise, how will the people in the village look at him, and how will the Uchiha clan look at him? Uchiha clan certainly has to go to the battlefield, but they can't make a particularly great contribution. This is an unwritten rule that has been established since the time of second Naruto. Of course, only a few high-level Woodleaf clan members know about it. However, now is the time to send the elites of the Uchiha clan to protect the daimyo. This is an opportunity to have a good relationship with the daimyo, and Uchiha Mountain will certainly not give up. Go and call the Uchiha clan leader. Flying Ape Nichiren immediately ordered, then picked up the opium pipe on the table, and then curled up the smoke. No one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 184. When a group relied on bloodlines to maintain relationships, it could be said that the group was at its most united. But when a group relied on interests and power to maintain relationships, then no matter how good the system was, there would always be a day when it would rot. That was why families with 1,000-year-old heritage did not have a 1,000-year-old country or village. This was also the reason why many families could not completely integrate into a village, especially when the family was invisibly excluded. The relationship between a village and a family was always the most difficult point to control. If it was handled well, there would naturally be peace. If it was not handled well, there would be a day when it would completely explode. Now the relationship between the Uchiha family and the Woodleaf family was like the surface of a frozen river. No one knew how big the crack under the ice was. However, all of this had nothing to do with Akira Uchiha. After all, he was still a small shrimp. Although he was already the hero of the Woodleaf family, he was still a slightly bigger shrimp. It was very pitiful. Now, other than being able to influence smaller shrimps like the Rope Tree and the Watergate family, he did not have any greater influence. Unless he could become Naruto, he could change all of this. But how difficult would it be to become a Naruto of the Uchiha family? After all, 4 generations of Woodleaf family, 50 years of history, Watergate died, and a Uchiha Naruto was still far away. And when the 3rd generation of the old family came out to take over the family again, it clearly told the family that it was impossible for them. It was difficult to become a Naruto, and it was even more difficult to become a Naruto of the Uchiha family. It was as difficult as walking on the street and randomly picking up a beautiful woman who was inexplicably loyal to you. So, these were not things that Akira Uchiha had to consider. He just wanted to go home and have a good sleep. At this time, the rising sun on the horizon shone brightly on the surroundings. Woodleaf was so peaceful without war. Akira Uchiha walked and stopped along the way. He felt indescribably comfortable. It would be an exaggeration to say that the scenery of the village was a long-lost feeling, but he did feel a little emotional after returning safely from the battlefield. Fundamentally speaking, Woodleaf was still the same. Nothing had changed. For many people, war was just a concept. Which village is Konoha fighting against? What is the situation? How much can the villagers know? To them, victory was only symbolic and spiritual. After returning home, the strange thing was that the house was not as dirty and messy as Akira Uchiha had imagined. After such a long time, the furniture and beds were not covered in dust. This didn't make sense. Could it be that someone had cleaned it for him? Akira Uchiha thought as he sat down on a chair. However, just as his butt touched the chair fell apart before he could exert any force. Akira Uchiha rubbed his eyes. All right, he was not mistaken. The chair had indeed fallen apart. You could even see traces of glue on the chairs. It was obvious that the other party had secretly glued the chair together to prevent it from being exposed. Could it be any more perfunctory? With this level of housework, he instantly knew who had helped him tidy up. The little fox Shina Kushina. If Shina Kushina could be a little more attentive, it would be even better. However, Akira Uchiha could only pray that his few pieces of furniture would not be destroyed by her. Akira Uchiha sighed. After washing up, he climbed onto his soft bed and slept. He wanted to sleep until he woke up naturally. After all, this kind of extravagant sleep was the best for his body's development. However, extravagant hope would always be extravagant hope. Just as Akira Uchiha fell asleep in a daze for 10 minutes, there was a rush of knocking on the door. Bang bang bang. Akira Uchiha covered his head with the blanket and ignored the knocking. However, the other party had the aura of, if you don't open the door, I'll keep knocking forever. Okay, you win. Akira Uchiha opened the door angrily. However, a guy with a fox mask appeared at the door. Umbu? Akira Uchiha frowned. Was the old man looking for him again? Sorry to disturb you, Akira Uchiha-sama. The Umbu ninja spoke. Sama? Akira Uchiha raised his eyebrows. It was the first time someone called him that. However, when did the dark department become so easy to talk to? They even learned how to knock on the door. Shouldn't they just enter the house in an instant? Shouldn't they act like a police officer handling a case? This should be the style of the dark department, right? In the past, the Umbu ninja would naturally treat Akira Uchiha like this. Naturally, it can't be done now. Because Akira Uchiha is now a Woodleaf hero, the Umbu ninja naturally can't be so presumptuous. This is the result of Akira Uchiha's strength. With strength, others will respect you. This is the rule of the ninja world. So, do you think the Umbu ninja dared to directly break into Shigeru's house? Of course, they don't dare. What's the matter? Akira Uchiha asked. He was ready to go back to sleep. This is from Naruto-sama. The fox face took out a scroll and respectfully handed it to Akira Uchiha. Then, the other party disappeared from Akira Uchiha's sight. Akira Uchiha, who walked into the room, felt a little strange. Is he asking me to perform a mission again? Unfortunately, he didn't know that the third Naruto had made a vow that he wouldn't let him perform a B-level mission again. Akira Uchiha quickly opened the scroll. This is... He saw 2 brand new Woodleaf Jonin vests appear in front of him. There was also a ninja registration card next to it. On it was written, Akira Uchiha, Tokubetsu Jonin. Yes, he is indeed a Tokubetsu Jonin. Although he is not a Jonin, he is not a Tokubetsu Jonin, a Tokubetsu Jonin is still a Jonin. With Akira Uchiha's strength, he is indeed enough to be a Jonin, but considering his age, Flying Ape Nichiren still slowed down a little. But even so, it is an extremely terrifying thing. You know, Akira Uchiha graduated from the ninja school in June this year, and now it is September, almost October. In other words, it only took him more than 3 months to cross the distance between a Jonin and a Jonin. In the history of Konoha, there was no one who could achieve such a feat. It can be said that this record is almost impossible to be broken by later generations, of course, unless the other party also has a cheat life. In fact, this is also expected. Before graduation, Akira Uchiha has completed 2 A-level missions. Coupled with several A-level missions on the battlefield, and several B-level missions, plus the merits on the battlefield, these are enough to promote him to a Jonin. And there is no water. After all, there are not many Chunin who can kill so many Jonin and even defeat a Bijou. With this kind of strength, what else do you want to do? Be a quiet 10,000-year Chunin? And now during the war, Woodleaf lacks high-end combat power, and it is a great waste to let Akira Uchiha's strength to be on Chunin's level. Just when Akira Uchiha thought that was all, he lifted another ninja bag, and a small seal scroll rolled out of it. He picked it up and saw a line of words on it. Woodleaf Jonin Akira Uchiha, because you have made great contributions in the Land of Rain and accumulated a lot of merits, 3rd Naruto-sama has specially allowed you to choose a ninjutsu from the Book of Seals as a reward. This is really a surprise. Chapter 185. The Book of Seals was a forbidden book sealed by the first Naruto Senju Hashirama. The scroll recorded the forbidden ninjutsu and some advanced secret techniques collected by Woodleaf. Therefore, the Book of Seals wasn't something that anyone could read. Only those ninjas who have made great contributions to Konoha have the opportunity to learn. In fact, if it wasn't for Koharu's strong request and his father's influence, even if he made such a great contribution, he wouldn't have the opportunity to learn ninjutsu from it. Therefore, with eagerness, Akira Uchiha used chakra to unlock the scroll. This scroll naturally couldn't be the Book of Seals. It just wrote the existing ninjutsu in the Book of Seals that Akira Uchiha could exchange for. And in the scroll, there was a pen with a special black pattern. Akira Uchiha looked at it a few times, and the first thing that appeared in front of him was the Shadow Clone Jutsu that Naruto developed for Naruto. In fact, Akira Uchiha never understood one thing. Why did the Shadow Clone Jutsu appear in the Book of Seals? This ninjutsu is indeed a bug, but it's the same as the Shadow Clone Jutsu, so naturally, people who can use the Shadow Clone Jutsu can also master the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Moreover, the ninjas who can use this ninjutsu are not limited to Woodleaf. In other words, this forbidden ninjutsu is actually something that can be found on the streets. It's just that most ninjas can't be like Naruto because of the restriction of chakra. But this ninjutsu is still something that can be found on the streets. Therefore, Akira Uchiha directly skipped this ninjutsu and scanned the rest of the scroll. Unfortunately, this scroll didn't contain any ninjutsu like Mokutan, nor did it contain the Edo Tensei. So, how did Uncle Snake learn this ninjutsu? It's worth investigating. Sandame Naruto would definitely not show this ninjutsu to others. As for the others, the strongest ones were S-Class Jutsu of Naruto, Hard Whirlpool Waterblade, Water Dragon Bite, and other such ninjutsu. However, among the 5 attributes, the water attribute was undoubtedly one of the lowest. Hence, he did not even look at it before jumping to the next one. Soon, Akira Uchiha found a very familiar name. Summoning Jutsu. Rashomon. Akira Uchiha instantly felt his heart beat. This ninjutsu is a ninjutsu with a strong defensive nature. In the original story, Naruto and Orochimaru used this ninjutsu. One can imagine how strong its defensive ability is. Other than the Thousand-Bird Stream, Celeste did not have any better defensive measures. However, as he thought, Uncle Snake knew this ninjutsu. He must have the training scroll. As a person who loves his disciple so much, Orochimaru will not hide it from him. Compared to Orochimaru, who has a deep understanding of the ninjutsu, Akira Uchiha will definitely choose Orochimaru. So, there is no need for him to waste this opportunity. Akira Uchiha continued to read and soon found another ninjutsu that made his heart beat faster. Flying Thunder God Jutsu. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu was developed by Sandaime Naruto. Later, it was improved by Watergate and became a ninjutsu. As the only spatial ninjutsu that could be learned in the original story, one can imagine how precious it is. Even if he doesn't know this ninjutsu, with the first-hand information, he will be able to research it sooner or later. Not to mention, there is Watergate beside him. Allowing Watergate to come in contact with the Flying Thunder God Jutsu in advance will bring countless benefits to both Watergate and Akira Uchiha. But then he thought about it again. Watergate has only been exposed to sealing techniques for 2 years. Although his progress is very fast, he is still stuck in the middle and low level of evil sealing techniques. Is it really good for his growth to come in contact with a ninjutsu like Flying Thunder God Jutsu? Flying Thunder God Jutsu is not a ninjutsu that can be learned casually. It wasn't as if you just had to look at the cultivation method and then it was guaranteed that you would master it in 7 days. Flying Thunder God Jutsu requires an extremely solid theoretical foundation of sealing techniques and a more profound theory of spatial ninjutsu. This is something that even Orochimaru may not understand. Even if Watergate's talent in spatial ninjutsu is extremely high, wanting to learn Flying Thunder God Jutsu in a few years is undoubtedly a fool's dream. Akira Uchiha relies on the system, so naturally, he can make rapid progress in sealing techniques, but he does not know what spatial theoretical knowledge is. This kind of thing needs to be researched by Watergate before the system can be upgraded and open the spatial attribute. Therefore, after thinking about the gains and losses rationally, Akira Uchiha forced himself to calm down and continued to read the rest of the scroll. After that, the only ninjutsu that attracted Akira Uchiha's attention is the spirit transformation technique. However, after using this ninjutsu, the body must be protected by others, so Akira Uchiha directly gave up. The rest are much more ordinary, most of them are A-level ninjutsu. Therefore, this scroll of seals is obviously incomplete. This is not Naruto's intention, of course. It is very likely that he has such an idea. The main reason is that many high-level ninjutsu or forbidden techniques are not suitable for Akira Uchiha's age. There is no way Naruto would allow Akira Uchiha to learn a ninjutsu like Shiki Fujin. A ninjutsu like Shiki Fujin, which can only be used once, is not worth the loss. Therefore, Naruto's list of ninjutsu is suitable for him to learn. However, there were only the names of the ninjutsu on the list. There were no annotations. If not for Shen's memories, he might have casually picked one of the ninjutsu's names. The list is not long and it did not take long for him to reach the bottom. In the last line, he saw a very interesting ninjutsu. Mutual Explosive Tag. Akira Uchiha has some impression of this ninjutsu. It is also a ninjutsu developed by Naruto. Its effect is to stick a single explosive tag on the enemy's body and detonate it. A single explosive tag can be used infinitely, while a single explosive tag can cause an infinite number of explosions. In other words, this ninjutsu is very similar to Conan's 600 billion explosive tag. This ninjutsu is classified as a forbidden ninjutsu because of its wide coverage, and the improved explosive tag's power is very high. The caster is very likely to be affected by it. Later, Naruto often used this ninjutsu together with Edo Tensei. But this ninjutsu together with Flying Thunder God or Super Fast Body Flicker, the power is equally amazing. And unlike the S-Class Flying Thunder God, the difficulty of Mutual Explosive Tag is only A-Class. At least in terms of difficulty, it is not as difficult as Flying Thunder God. That is, Akira Uchiha's eyes stayed on the names of Flying Thunder God and Mutual Explosive Tag for nearly a minute. Finally, he made up his mind and picked up the black pencil next to the list and checked the small box next to the Mutual Explosive Tag. The next moment, the scroll in Akira Uchiha's hand turned into white smoke and disappeared. At the same time, a new seal scroll appeared in his hand. After opening it, Akira Uchiha found that it recorded the advantages and disadvantages of Mutual Explosive Tag, as well as the method of spiritual communication and continuous spiritual communication. In the second half of the scroll, there is a detailed explanation of how to make a special explosive tag. Akira Uchiha quickly looked at it, put the scroll away, and then walked out of the door. This kind of explosive training, How can he do it in his own room? What if the explosion destroys the flowers and plants? So he must find a more spacious place. Where is the spacious place? Naruto Rock. How about it? Chapter 186. Akira Uchiha naturally couldn't test his ninjutsu on the rock of Naruto. In fact, as soon as he took out an explosive tag, he was caught by the nearby patrolling security department. According to the security department, destroying cultural relics, if the case is serious, the ninja license will be revoked. After hearing this sentence, Akira Uchiha shook his head and showed a contemptuous look. You call this 30-year-old building a cultural relic? Really a group of country bumpkins who have never seen the world. In desperation, Akira Uchiha could only leave here. But he soon found a more sad thing. That is, he has nowhere to go. Go back to his home? Well, there is no one there. In the evening, there are several team parties, but it's still a bit early, and he is not in a hurry to find Mikoto and Shina Kushina. Akira Uchiha, who has nothing to do, thought about it and decided to visit his teacher Orochimaru. Since he came back, he has seen all the people he knows, but he hasn't seen his teacher yet. At this time, the sky gradually began to darken, the autumn sunset dyed the horizon orange, and the distant houses were covered with a faint layer of color. Akira Uchiha is not in a hurry, so while enjoying the beautiful scenery, he walked in the direction of Woodleaf's prison. Orochimaru's home is of course not in the prison. Although his taste is unique, it is not unique to the point of being unique. Orochimaru is near the prison, mainly because his underground laboratory is near Woodleaf's prison. The distance between the two is not far. On the surface, Konoha is not allowed to conduct human experiments. But autopsy, organ research, bloodline limit research, and so on, some purely medical research, Woodleaf certainly does not prohibit. And it is a big step ahead of the industry, otherwise, Woodleaf would not have such advanced medical ninjutsu. But where do these corpses come from? Naturally, they come from Woodleaf's prison, that is, the prisoners abandoned by other ninja villages, and some ordinary criminals sent there. Woodleaf disposes of some prisoners every once in a while, so these large numbers of materials that do not violate Woodleaf's regulations, Orochimaru certainly won't let go of. Therefore, this laboratory is actually within the scope of the third Hokage's permission and monitoring. Alone, Akira Uchiha was very fast. It only took about 10 minutes to reach the edge of Woodleaf's prison, that is, Orochimaru's underground laboratory. Because of the preservation of materials and experimental bodies, Orochimaru is used to build research facilities underground. So without specific coordinates, it is impossible to find this place. As soon as Chan stepped down the stairs, he felt a slight chill wrapping around him, and by the time he reached the bottom, the temperature was already a dozen degrees lower than the surface. A stone door appeared in front of him, with special stripes on the door. Just as Akira Uchiha was about to knock on the door, a small snake slithered out from the stone door, nodded at him, and crawled back to the depression in the stone. Then, the small snake gradually turned the same color as the stone door, and the heavy stone door began to slowly open. After Akira Uchiha stepped in, the stone door closed with a rumble. The flames on the platforms on both sides of the road began to light up one by one, and finally led to a crooked place. So, in this rugged and winding underground passage, Akira Uchiha followed the flames for about 20 minutes before finally reaching the deepest part. After pushing open a wooden door at the end, he saw Orochimaru standing next to the operating table, obviously not done with the research at hand. "Chen, sit down for a while." Orochi called out to his precious disciple with a hoarse voice, then continued to busy himself with the important work at hand. Akira Uchiha nodded, then sat on the chair that was already prepared, and then began to look around the laboratory. This is the first time Akira Uchiha came here. Although he heard about it from Orochimaru before, he never had the opportunity to visit it. To be honest, he is really curious about what is in the laboratory. After all, having this place is equivalent to having the whole ninja world. What is that saying? Do you want to understand the mystery of the universe? Do you want to understand the principles of ninjutsu? Do you want to decipher the bloodline of the alien Otsutsuki family? Then welcome to this episode of Orochimaru's Laboratory. Therefore, Akira Uchiha was full of curiosity about this place. As the most outstanding mad scientist in the ninja world, how can this place be different? But the whole laboratory is so ordinary. Except for the operating table in the center, there are only some glass cabinets with formalin. So at first glance, the whole laboratory is normal, no different from Woodleaf Hospital. Looking at Orochimaru, it can't be more normal. He was wearing a white coat and a pair of rubber gloves, and he was conducting an experiment on a ninja corpse. At this time, Orochimaru was very focused. He didn't use instruments like scalpels, but simply relied on exquisite techniques to remove most of the joints on the corpse, then pressed his hand on the corpse's elbow, made a hand seal, and began to inject his chakra. But there was no reaction. After removing the joints, the corpse didn't even have any nerve reflex movements. During this period, Orochimaru changed the hand seal several times in a row, but it was useless, so he could only give up temporarily. Are you doing research on whether you can rely on chakra to control the body to continue fighting after the bones are broken? Akira Uchiha asked. Kind of. Orochimaru nodded, then added, but it's not the same. My research is actually about softening the body. I hope the body can be freely stretched or twisted at any angle. I can turn the hands and feet into whips to attack. Akira Uchiha's eyes flashed after hearing this. Chen, what's wrong? Are you interested in this field? Orochimaru asked. Indeed. But rather than being interested, it's better to say that I have a bold idea. Akira Uchiha pushed up his non-existent glasses. Huh? Orochimaru was also stunned. Let's not talk about this first. By the way, give me some of your blood. I'm recently studying the difference between Sharingan and Byakugan. Well, how much do you want? Akira Uchiha asked. Just a little bit will do. Orochimaru bent down, searched in the cabinet for a long time, and then took out a syringe. However, the syringe was about 4 times the size of the ones used in the hospital. Teacher, is this what you meant by a little bit? Chapter 187. It was obvious that Orochimaru did not really mean a little bit. Of course, in his understanding, perhaps it was just a little bit. In short, doing experiments was a very wasteful job. Perhaps this was the reason why Orochimaru embarked on the path of crime. After all, if there was no material, he would definitely commit crimes. So, wasn't it natural for him to become the leader, Guevara? However, this needle hole is really too big, and the pain is real. Akira Uchiha grinned at Orochimaru, but it was obvious that the other party had no intention of preparing 2 eggs for him. It seemed that blood donation was free, but blood transfusion required money again. However, Orochimaru's next action shocked him. After Orochimaru saved the blood, he took off his white coat and jacket. Teacher, I don't think it's necessary to pay with my body? Akira Uchiha stuttered. If Orochimaru had changed his body, he might mind. He was not the rope tree, and he did not like that. It seemed that the rumors about Orochimaru and Jiraiya were not groundless. Orochimaru was a little helpless. His disciple was good at everything, but his mind was a little jumpy. Come, let's fight. Akira Uchiha was shocked again. There was no need to use force for this kind of thing. He always thought that Jiraiya was the attacker, but it seemed that the rumors were not reliable. Looking at Akira Uchiha's strange eyes, Orochimaru shook his head. Don't misunderstand. I just want to experiment with the effect of my joint softening. Now that I can't find a good opponent, I'll use you to test it. Fighting is the best way to understand each other. If we fight, it might give me more inspiration. Orochimaru said seriously. However, he really just wanted to experiment, but now he had the urge to beat someone up. However, Akira Uchiha obviously did not know about Orochimaru's idea. He thought about it seriously and felt that Orochimaru's words were indeed reasonable, so he nodded and agreed. If his memory was correct, Orochimaru's joint softening experiment should be the prototype of the future soft body modification. The current Orochimaru might not have thought so far ahead, or he might have already thought about it. But because of the third Naruto, he did not experiment in that direction. You must know that a forbidden technique like soft body modification must use a living human body for experiments. For the future Orochimaru, this is a daily thing, just like drinking water and eating, but for the current him, it's a taboo, but this taboo is full of temptation. Under the lead of Orochimaru, the two quickly walked to the back of the laboratory. There was a small training ground here, which is generally used by Orochimaru to exercise or record data. Because it's only recording data about taijutsu, although the Sharingan can be used, it's forbidden to use genjutsu and moves with high destructive power. Orochimaru said in a hoarse voice. Of course, I can only use taijutsu. Orochimaru said as he took out a kunai from the ninja bag behind his waist and looked at Akira Uchiha. Come on, let sensei see your recent progress. Orochimaru nodded towards Akira Uchiha, while the two shadow clones outside the field were closely watching the battle that was about to begin. They were going to record the battle data, which is extremely useful for Orochimaru and the purpose of this battle. But, is it really necessary to be so serious? That kind of look in his eyes, as if he was watching an X-rated movie, made Chen's hair stand on end. He exhaled, and the blood-red tomo spun quickly, and then his whole body was almost pulled into a long shadow, and in an instant, he rushed towards Orochimaru. His speed was so fast that there was a trail of dust under his feet and behind him, but he couldn't see his figure clearly. And this is the case where he didn't use lightning attribute chakra to stimulate his body cells, but his speed is already the same as when he first entered the Land of Rain battlefield. In the past few months of fighting, Akira Uchiha has made great progress. Bang! In the next moment, a loud sound of metal colliding sounded, and a circle of air waves quickly spread out with Akira Uchiha and Orochimaru as the center. Since Orochimaru didn't use ninjutsu, Shin also didn't want to use his lightning release. Shan held the kunai tightly, and in the next moment, the weapons in their hands collided dozens of times. Finally, with a violent cracking sound, the kunai in Orochimaru's left hand suddenly broke apart. Orochi's eyelids twitched. This fighting style is really similar to Tsunade's. With the support of monstrous strength, the opponent's taijutsu ability soars. But it must be known that although Tsunade's strength is very strong, his speed is actually very average. However, Akira Uchiha doesn't have this flaw. He is flexible like a speed ninja. With both strength and speed, Orochimaru can only think of the third Raikage. In a very short time, Orochimaru didn't have time to continue thinking. The next moment, without hesitation, he threw away the kunai in his hand and directly attacked Akira Uchiha's ribs with one hand. Slightly sideways to avoid Orochimaru's punch, and just as he was about to continue to attack, Orochimaru directly followed up with a second taijutsu. He raised his hand and bombarded the opponent's chin with the palm of his hand. If hit, not only will the opponent be blown away, but they will also enter a relatively long stunned state. It is not impossible to hit someone with too much strength and directly cause a concussion, even if the opponent is a ninja. Akira Uchiha saw this and put his kunai in the back, aiming at Orochimaru's palm. He didn't have the slightest intention of holding back. Orochimaru's strength is at least above the level of a quasi-kage. If he holds back at this time, is he going to attend the party with a bloody nose and a swollen face? Seeing that his attack failed, Orochimaru instantly jumped up, and in the process of jumping, the speed of his right hand didn't decrease, and hit Akira Uchiha with a very strange angle. Of course, it's strange. It can even be said that this kind of twisted movement is not something that a human can do. Akira Uchiha tilted his head to avoid it, and at the same time grabbed Orochimaru's wrist, stopping his jumping momentum. At the same time, Akira Uchiha once again took a step forward, and hit Orochimaru's abdomen with his knee. According to the previous fighting style of Orochimaru, at this time he would obviously directly lift his leg and sweep. But this time he didn't choose to do so. Relying on the wrist that was held by Akira Uchiha as a support point, Orochimaru's body strangely turned 90 degrees, and with an almost impossible posture, he dodged his knee. Akira Uchiha immediately threw out his kunai. But the next second, he was shocked. Because Orochimaru's neck bent, and with a movement that didn't conform to ergonomics, he dodged the kunai at a 90-degree angle. This kind of horrible scene is exactly the same as the Japanese crooked head sister that Akira Uchiha saw on the internet in his previous life. Chapter 188. In terms of pure taijutsu, the current Akira Uchiha is definitely not Orochimaru's opponent. Not to mention the gap in strength, just in terms of age, Orochimaru is 10 years older than Akira Uchiha. With such a long time, even an ordinary person can become a jonin, not to mention the genius that Sandaime Naruto said appears once in a decade. But Akira Uchiha is not bragging, otherwise, how can it take him only 3 months to complete the leap from a genin to a jonin? To be able to struggle and survive countless battles, one is either strong or the child of the plane. Otherwise, it's like Akira Uchiha using the system hack. So after Orochimaru used a unique crooked head kill, Akira Uchiha didn't stop, and directly stabbed Orochimaru's face with his kunai. However, Orochimaru dodged the attack with a strange movement in the air. Akira Uchiha then used his right foot as a support point, and swept Orochimaru in mid-air. Orochimaru laughed, and then quickly landed on the ground. This completely ignored the inertia of the body, so Akira Uchiha's attack quickly missed. Sharingan detected Orochimaru's movement in advance, and without the slightest pause, he once again threw himself close to Orochimaru. At this time, Orochimaru is already the size of an adult, and Akira Uchiha's body is just beginning to grow. In close combat, there is no doubt that the small body will have the advantage. In an instant, Akira Uchiha completed a 5-attack combo. At the same time, he held his kunai and directly stabbed. The kunai didn't reflect any light. However, it was more dangerous than any other move. After Orochimaru blocked the 5 attacks, the kunai cut through the air, making a sharp sound, and cut towards the waist of Orochi. Bang! The sound of kunai colliding with kunai quickly spread. At the last moment, Orochimaru slipped a kunai from his sleeve, blocking Akira Uchiha's attack. But at the same time, Orochimaru was also shocked by the violent impact and took 2 steps back. The situation of the battle was reversed in an instant. Just now Orochimaru had the upper hand, but in just a few seconds, Akira Uchiha forced Orochimaru back. There is no reason to let Akira Uchiha, who has such an advantage, and rushed again. Under Orochimaru's intentional or unintentional guidance, in just a few minutes of the battle, he showed almost every result of the fusion of his softening joint and his taijutsu. Although Akira Uchiha was forced to retreat, he didn't show any signs that he of defeat, of the battle, of his. The battle the battle lasted for 5 or 6 minutes. It was not until one of the shadow clones outside the arena reminded them that both sides stopped fighting. Is it done? It's almost done. Orochimaru nodded. This kind of battle that didn't require much chakra could only be considered as a warm-up for both Akira Uchiha and Orochimaru. Orochimaru took the record from the shadow clones and looked at it seriously. Akira Uchiha, who had nothing to do, started to look at the scroll on the training ground. This is probably the best you can do with joint softening. Akira Uchiha suddenly heard a sigh from behind him. However, from the sound of it, he couldn't tell if Orochimaru was telling the truth, or if he was unwilling to give up. After a while, Orochimaru finally raised his head and asked, "Chen, what do you think of human experiments?" Human experiments were definitely a taboo in Woodleaf. He didn't know when it started, but when it was mentioned, it gave people an evil feeling. In fact, Woodleaf had a good tradition of human experiments. Second Naruto, who had the title of the great invention of the ninja world, was the founder of this field. Among other things, the forbidden technique of filthy earth reincarnation required the summoning of souls from the Pure Land. This kind of ninjutsu was inseparable from human experiments. Don't you need living people to study souls? Don't you need sacrifices to summon souls? No matter how you look at it, a lot of human experiments must be done. Second Naruto's understanding of the Sharingan was so thorough that it even surpassed the Uchiha clan. The person who opened the Sharingan will produce a special kind of chakra in his head. If second Naruto didn't use the Uchiha clan as experimental subjects, how could he have made such a detailed conclusion? Therefore, Second Naruto was the first person to conduct human experiments in Woodleaf. The others were all trash. But what about Orochimaru? He lost his family when he was a child, and he was alone. However, he was talented, diligent, and learned from third Naruto, and finally succeeded. But after witnessing the death of his parents and companions one by one, the kind Orochimaru felt the fragility and shortness of life. Therefore, out of his desire for knowledge and immortality, Orochimaru built a simple laboratory under extremely difficult conditions to study the mysteries of the human body, using scientific ideas and the spirit of doing things steadily and surely. However, the scientific pioneer Orochimaru's research was too advanced, and it angered the conservative Woodleaf, and the teacher and even the entire village couldn't tolerate it. They obstructed the experiment in every way possible, and finally expelled Orochimaru from the village. They were both conducting human experiments, but why was there such a big gap between them? However, human experiments were really important. You know, without human experiments, there wouldn't be a perfect transplant of Hashirama's cells. Then Sasuke would have been stabbed to death by Madara, and there would be no chance for him to open Rinnegan to save the ninja world. There was also Orochimaru's software transformation. If it could be scaled up, it would greatly improve the overall strength of Woodleaf. At least for the Nara clan, with the shadow imitation technique, it would be at least a low-level version of the death sentence. However, third Naruto couldn't see this. He only thought that human experiments were cruel. Wasn't it cruel to kill so many people in the Shinobi World War? Therefore, as long as human experiments didn't start on the villagers of his village, Akira Uchiha didn't think it was a big deal. Not to mention the existence of clones. I think human experiments are very important, and it will be of great help to the improvement of Woodleaf's strength. It's just that third Naruto will definitely oppose it. Unless... Akira Uchiha pondered for a moment and continued. Unless, Sensei, you can become the fourth Naruto. Akira Uchiha felt like he was a Naruto trafficker, and all his suggestions were to make the other party become Naruto. It seemed that becoming Naruto would solve all problems. Yes. Orochimaru's eyes flickered after hearing this. If he can become Naruto, then no one can stop him. Otherwise, his end will only be the same as his childhood friend Hirako. If he can't become Naruto, then the one who sits in this position must be someone who doesn't oppose human experiments and has a close relationship with him. All I want in this life is to learn all the ninjutsu and master the truth of the world, that's all. No one can stop me. Chapter 189. When he came out of Orochimaru's lab, the sky was completely dark. The surrounding forest was also filled with all kinds of mosquitoes and traces of wild animals. Akira Uchiha did not stop at all. He immediately walked into the village. After about 10 minutes, he finally arrived at the gathering place. This was the tavern where he had dinner with Orochimaru a year ago. However, the tavern had been refurbished and looked brand new. It was also much cleaner. Yo, isn't this Shikaku? Akira Uchiha walked to the door and saw Shikaku standing there. What a coincidence. Oh, it's Chen. What a coincidence. Shikaku held his head and looked like he had nothing left to live for. If I may ask, why are you here? Akira Uchiha looked confused. I heard that someone is treating tonight. Barbecue is free and drinks are free. Shikaku scratched his ponytail embarrassedly. After all, freeloading was not a good habit. However, he could not stand the fact that someone was treating him, so he had no choice but to come. Otherwise, he would not be giving face to the other party. Why, you heard about it too. Shikaku came closer and lowered his voice. Akira Uchiha felt his chest tighten. At the same time, he had a bad feeling. Barbecue is free and drinks are free. Who told you this? He grabbed Shikaku's hand and asked hurriedly. Rope Tree. He told me. I heard that he even informed the students from other classes. Akira Uchiha listened to Shikaku's words in a daze and his vision turned black. Hey, Chen, what's wrong with you? Wake up. Someone, come quickly. Someone fainted from excitement. Chen, how are you? Shina Kushina looked at the boy worriedly. I'm all right. I won't die for now. Akira Uchiha sat on the chair listlessly. At this time, the entire hall was filled with people. It was very noisy. These were all Akira Uchiha's classmates. It is said that there are students from other classes coming here. There is only one purpose, that is, to see the man who once dominated many lists in the ninja school. However, in Akira Uchiha's eyes, they were all here to freeload. There were 8 people sitting at his table. Shina Kushina, Rope Tree, and Shikaku's trio. Chen, I didn't mean it. I didn't know there would be so many people. Rope Tree said innocently. If you don't come, you're not giving face to me, Thousand Rope Tree. Who said that? It's no big deal. I'll fork out some money as well. Rope Tree took out his shriveled wallet. There were only 50 taels in it. The problem was, even the cheapest ramen cost 60. Feeling Akira Uchiha's gaze, Rope Tree turned around and smiled at him. You're not good at work, but you still have the face to act cute. Akira Uchiha sighed and stood up. Students, tonight's barbecue is free. Drink as much as you like. He gritted his teeth. He forced a smile. Great, great. Choza cheered. Boss, give me the most expensive barbecue. A burst of cheers sounded in the tavern. Originally, Akira Uchiha only wanted to invite a few friends. After all, this was the only place that sold alcohol to minors. He didn't expect Rope Tree to scam him. In fact, Akira Uchiha wasn't poor. After all, Kagun left him a lot of inheritance. In addition, he had a lot of merit points on the battlefield. Each merit point could be exchanged for 5,000 silver. If he wanted to exchange it for money, Akira Uchiha could probably exchange it for more than 3 million silver from Woodleaf. This was another benefit of going to the battlefield. One had to know that on the battlefield, completing a B-rank mission would give around 10 to 30 merit points. If converted to silver, it would be around 100,000 to 300,000 silver. As for the B-rank missions in the village, the reward for a small team was at most 50,000 to 150,000 taels. Moreover, the Jonin team leader would take the majority of the rewards. Therefore, the ninjas who survived the battlefield eventually became rich and powerful without exception. After all, in addition to silver, merit points could also be exchanged for relatively popular ninja, genjutsu, and genjutsu. This was also why Tsunade, as a big fat sheep, always had people willing to lend her money. The casino wasn't worried that she couldn't pay it back. It had to be known that completing an S-level mission was about 1 million silver. Then the question was, who touched Naruto's inheritance? It must be noted that Minato had completed a total of 39 S-rank missions. Shina Kushina had a ready-made sealing technique for him to study. Jiraiya had a lot of ninjutsu for free. Watergate didn't lack ninjutsu at all. Since merit points couldn't be exchanged for ninjutsu, then he should have at least accumulated 10 million silver. But Naruto's monthly pension was only 1,000 silver. Where did the rest of the money go? Could it be that Woodleaf also had inheritance tax? Thinking of this, Akira Uchiha showed a pitiful look and looked at Watergate. Watergate was confused. At this time, Mikoto turned around and said, Chen, where did you go in the evening? Akira Uchiha picked up a meat skewer and replied, I went to visit Orochimaru sensei. Why? In the evening, the gods sent someone to find me. What? Why did they come to find you? Akira Uchiha frowned. Since 4 years ago, when Uchiha Hirayama visited Uchiha-chan, the attitude of the Konoha clan towards him has indeed improved a lot. Akira Uchiha was well aware of this goodwill. The old fox wanted him to be the bridge between the clan and the village, just like Shisui and Itachi in the future. According to the normal routine, in a few years, Uchiha clan would use their influence to send Akira Uchiha to the Umbu. You know, other big clans have their own informants in the Umbu. But only Uchiha clan didn't have any. Because Uchiha clan's ninjas directly entered the security department after graduation. This caused Uchiha clan's influence on the Umbu to be zero, just like blind people. Therefore, Uchiha clan has been trying to insert people into the Umbu, but all of them were rejected by Sandaime Naruto. Now, with the identity of Kuroto's son and Orochimaru's disciple, it was enough to send Akira Uchiha to the Umbu. And Sandaime Naruto had no reason to refuse. It's just that this idea hasn't been implemented, and the work of the bridge hasn't been carried out. The Second Shinobi World War broke out without warning, and Akira Uchiha was immediately taken to the battlefield by Orochimaru. So, Akira Uchiha didn't know why the old fox was looking for Mikoto now. Could it be that he was eyeing Mikoto? Akira Uchiha thought so. It's just that Mikoto's answer was beyond his expectation. The guards informed us that on the 15th of this month, we will go to the Naka Shrine to participate in the clan's gathering. Where? Naka Shrine. Chapter 190. As a matter of fact, Akira Uchiha has never been to the Naka Shrine. This is not because he was rejected by the clan, but because the standard requirement to participate in the secret meeting is to open the Sharingan. Only the clan members who have opened the Sharingan will be recognized as the core members of the clan and be allowed to participate in this secret meeting. Akira Uchiha and Mikoto have opened the Sharingan a year ago, but because of the mission, only a few people, including Orochimaru, knew about it. Therefore, this matter was forcibly suppressed by the Sandaime Naruto. He didn't even tell his best friend Shimura Danzo. And the reason he gave was very good. Genius ninjas are always easy to be targeted. As for whether this people refers to the people outside the village or the people in the village, Akira Uchiha wasn't very clear. In short, for the sake of safety and the future of the village, secrecy is necessary. Since the head of the village said so, what can they do but obediently shut up? Therefore, after hiding it for a year, the news of the awakening of the Sharingan came back from the battlefield. It's just that in front of the fact that the village defeated the Land of Rain, the awakening of the Sharingan was not so conspicuous. At the same time, the secret meeting of the clan began to be open to the two. Therefore, after hearing the news, although Akira Uchiha was a little surprised, he accepted it immediately. Then he thought of the news revealed by Orochimaru, sensei. The village is preparing to send the Uchiha clan to protect the daimyo. Then, the purpose of the secret meeting at this time is self-evident. After a little analysis, he figured out the ins and outs of the matter. So, it's really easy to do things with someone from the top, a little bit of information, then you won't be in a passive situation. This is also the reason why the Uchiha clan has always wanted to bury spies in the Umbu. It's just that Akira Uchiha has a headache. To be honest, he really doesn't know how to deal with such a powerful but difficult clan. Some clans can be used as a political bargaining chip, such as the Senju clan. However, there were some clans that could drag you down, such as the Uchiha clan. And now, he was facing such an awkward situation. After all, as a reincarnated person, it was difficult to identify with a new group. Therefore, those who wanted to shoulder the glory of their family as soon as they were reborn were the ones who were bullshitting. You are not a primitive aborigine, and they have not done you any favors. How can you possibly have the idea of studying for the rise of the Uchiha? Even the patriarch's son had betrayed the patriarch. What kind of moral integrity did you, a reincarnated person, have? It should have been broken into pieces long ago. If Akira Uchiha had transmigrated into Fugaku, then there was nothing to say. He would definitely think about the future of his race first, because this race belonged to him. But the truth was, he was one of the lucky ones in the clan. The patriarch and the crown prince are still living happily. Every day, they are thinking about conspiring together to steal the fruits of the revolution. It is not your turn to be the head of the family. Therefore, it was pure nonsense to say that Akira Uchiha had any sense of identity with the clan. But Konoha is different. He has a reputation in the village, and he has a lot of connections. His current cohort would be his best political bargaining chip in the future. As long as he stayed dormant, after 3 wars, he might be able to rise to the top. Even if he had no chance to become Naruto, the one who would become Naruto must be his wife, friend, or teacher. So in the face of this situation, which side would you choose? Unless he made a coup, got rid of the patriarch's family, and then mixed in with the patriarch's position, the general direction of the clan would never be controlled by him. Since he couldn't fully control the Uchiha clan, he must choose another side. Therefore, alienating it was the best way to do it. In the future, in the entire clan, there were only 3 people with strength: Shisui, Obito, and Itachi. As for Shisui, there was no need to talk about him. It's just that he wasn't sure if he would be accidentally thrown to the wall in the future. As for Obito, he wasn't even a fertilized egg now. To kill him or to keep him in his pocket, Akira Uchiha hadn't decided yet. As for Itachi, "Mikoto, is my barbecue ready?" "Yes, it's ready." Therefore, he really didn't think much of this clan. Of course, these were just his personal thoughts. He was still young, and there were few things he could do. No one could say for sure what would happen in the future. The only thing he had to be careful of was Madara and Danzo's little tricks. As for the rest, he could only grind his reputation and work hard to improve his own strength. This was the path Akira Uchiha was going to take now. At this time, the dinner had been going on for 3 hours, and it was finally time to end. He didn't expect that everyone who looked thin and weak would become the incarnation of Hinata. Akira Uchiha, who originally planned to pay for it, had no choice but to use his trump card. "Chen, where are you going?" Rope Tree, who was picking his teeth, suddenly asked. Rope Tree's voice was soft in the restaurant, but the noisy restaurant suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked at Akira Uchiha. His body, which was originally standing up, was a little stiff. "I'm going to the toilet." Akira Uchiha wiped the cold sweat on his head. "Ahaha, Chen, you're not going to use the toilet, are you?" Little Son Watergate asked softly. "Damn, he guessed it." Swoosh, swoosh. As Minato's words fell, countless gazes pierced through him like sharp needles. As expected of a ninja who had been on the battlefield, his murderous aura stung his skin. "I'm really just going to the toilet." He held his stomach. Shikaku signaled with his eyes. In an instant, a few boys rushed out and guarded the exits. "Ahaha, you guys eat, you guys eat. I'll pay the bill while I'm at it." Akira Uchiha quickly walked to the back. "Rope Tree, you forced me to do this. Don't blame me for being ruthless." After walking to a corner, Akira Uchiha carefully observed his surroundings. Very good, there was no one. He immediately formed a seal and turned into Tsunade. Then, he carefully looked at himself and measured the amount of milk he had after the transformation. Very good, the details were perfect, and there was no flaw to touch. So, he quickly went to the counter. In fact, this wasn't the first time he did this. A year ago, Orochimaru brought him to dinner and ran away without paying. Akira Uchiha relied on the transformation technique to turn into Jiraiya. In the end, he put the bill on Jiraiya and got away with it. After all, prostitution, gambling, and drug dealers often came here to eat, so the boss was very familiar with the 3 of them. And Jiraiya and Tsunade often owed money for their meals, so the careless Jiraiya didn't notice it. But now, Jiraiya stayed in the Land of Rain for 3 years before coming back, so this time, he had to find someone else. "Tsunade, sensei, if you want to blame someone, blame Rope Tree." Akira Uchiha thought so. Tsunade-sama, the usual? The boss was an uncle. When he saw Tsunade, he thought she was here to buy wine. "Oh, no. Tonight, my brother Rope Tree is the one treating." Akira Uchiha pronounced the 2 words Rope Tree very clearly. "He forgot to bring money, so put it on my tab." Okay, although the boss was a little confused, he didn't say much. Just as Akira Uchiha was about to leave happily, someone patted him on the shoulder from behind. "Who is it?" He turned his head. In front of him was a girl about 10 years old. The girl was wearing blue clothes, flat-chested, and had a blonde ponytail. She was holding a bottle of sake in her hand. It was the 10-year-old Tsunade. How could he not understand? After transforming, Tsunade obviously followed Rope Tree to eat and drink. What a coincidence, Tsunade-sensei. The sweat that had been wiped off started to flow again. This was probably the feeling of being caught red-handed. What a coincidence. The miniature version of Tsunade smiled, but there was no trace of a smile in her eyes. Chin, have you seen a fist the size of a bean bun? Chapter 191. The night was hazy and enchanting. Two shadows stretched out under the illumination of the street lamps. The two people on the road continued to walk silently, as if they didn't know each other. Sensei Tsunade, why don't you change back? I'm not used to you being like this. Akira Uchiha finally couldn't bear the awkward atmosphere. Tsunade shook her head and said, "If I change back, it won't take more than 5 minutes for people to come to me for an autograph. As a hero, I also need some personal space." Akira Uchiha rolled his eyes when he heard this. It was the first time he heard such a refreshing way of pretending to be young. But you have to admit that she was telling the truth. They were both heroes, but why was the difference so big? Tsunade was asked for autographs and gifts wherever she went, and she could finish a day's worth of dishes after walking around. But not many people seemed to know what he looked like. It seemed that Woodleaf's publicity wasn't good enough, and the relevant departments weren't doing their job well. While letting his imagination run wild, Akira Uchiha secretly observed Tsunade's expression. She seemed to be in a particularly good mood today, otherwise she wouldn't be taking a leisurely stroll here, and even transforming into Shisue's appearance. Although the atmosphere was a little awkward, it was fine as long as Tsunade wasn't angry. It was impossible for Akira Uchiha not to be afraid after being caught red-handed while pretending to be someone else. After all, the violent division had a reputation. Just look at the violence Jiraiya had suffered over the years and you'd understand. What do you think of the team you're in now? Tsunade suddenly turned around and caught a falling leaf with her tender palm. Akira Uchiha thought for a moment and said, "It's pretty good, the team members are all very outstanding." Could it be that she wanted to be a hands-off manager and hand over the members of her team to him? Akira Uchiha had to guard against this move. After all, Shinakushina had mentioned this more than once. "I'm asking you if your team is still short of people?" "True enough." Akira Uchiha sighed and quickly waved his hand, indicating that he didn't lack anything. 3 people were enough for him. If 3 more came, he was ready to go home and eat dirt. "But as far as I know, your team members have been injured quite a few times while carrying out missions." Huh? He didn't quite understand Tsunade's words. "Shin, don't you think that your team still lacks a medical ninja? Every mission will cause injuries, but no medical ninja can treat them in time. Wouldn't it be more convenient if there was a medical ninja?" Akira Uchiha froze for a moment. He remembered that in the manga, Tsunade proposed that all teams should have a medical ninja after the death of the rope tree to reduce the casualties of ninja missions. But now that the rope tree was still alive, why did Tsunade still mention this reform? This didn't make sense. Could it be that her other relatives had died? "Teacher, did something happen?" "No." Tsunade shook her head. "I just saw you and your fellow ninjas today, and I felt that way." Tsunade looked at the direction of the tavern and said, "When I became a genin, I used to eat together like you. It's just that it's only been 10 years, and most of them are already dead." Tsunade was a little sad. "So, don't you think the reform is imperative?" In fact, she didn't want to talk about this matter. She told Orochimaru before, but Orochimaru gave her a negative answer. Tsunade also understood that in this kind of war, Naruto wouldn't agree to such a proposal. So she could only temporarily put this idea aside. But today, seeing these young ninjas, Tsunade remembered her lost youth. Why did she learn medical ninjutsu? At first, it was because of the shock caused by the death of her grandfather Hashirama. Since then, she has always wanted to learn medical ninjutsu and save all the people she knew. It's just that the reality was huge. Her parents and relatives were constantly dying, and her clan went from prosperity to decline. Now, there were only 2 or 3 of them left. She has already recognized the reality. Now, saving more ninjas is her goal, but not many people support her. If only that idiot Jiraiya was here, he would definitely support her. Tsunade sighed. The aura around her made Akira Uchiha think of the scene of Mito Vortex drinking. He really didn't want to say that vulgar adjective, but at this moment, he still felt that Tsunade was lonely. So, what do you want me to do? Tsunade took him out for a walk. Naturally, she didn't want him to comfort her. If you want to do that, and you want to touch the head of the 10-year-old Tsunade, then you're not far from death. At the next Jonin meeting, I hope you can take the initiative to propose this plan. Tsunade showed a treacherous smile. If Rope Tree died, Tsunade would naturally say this plan at the Jonin meeting. But now the situation is different. As a result of the butterfly effect, she was going to find someone to test the water for her and see everyone's attitude. If the water is too hot or too deep, she won't go down for the time being. Why me? Akira Uchiha finally choked out such a sentence. You're a special Jonin, you have the right to speak. If Rope Tree is a Jonin, I'll find him, but unfortunately, he's not. And the other Jonins have no direct relationship with me. You're my disciple, so it's just right. Tsunade spread out her hands. She wanted to find Jiraiya, but Jiraiya was still drinking rainwater in the land of rain. In other words, I'm the only one? No, you volunteered to do it. And if you mention it, everyone will definitely support you. Bluff, bluff again. Akira Uchiha still remembered that in the original work, only Kato Duan supported Tsunade, even Orochimaru didn't support her. He decided to find a reason to tactfully reject Tsunade. With that in mind, Tsunade, who was holding the bottle of wine in her left hand, suddenly approached Chen, and while Chen was still in a daze, she gently touched his forehead. Consider this a thank you gift, kid. Tsunade smiled, and then left alone along the mottled street. Akira Uchiha's face quickly turned red. Of course, he knew that Tsunade didn't mean anything else. This was the same as kissing Naruto's forehead, she was just purely treating him as a younger brother. Wait. Those who Tsunade kissed on the forehead didn't seem to have a good ending. Rope Tree was killed by the explosive talisman, Kato Duan also died an unnatural death. If Naruto didn't have the protagonist's aura, he would have died hundreds of times. In other words, was it a curse from Tsunade? Akira Uchiha felt a chill on his forehead. Chapter 192. Early the next morning, Akira Uchiha woke up from his sleep. He wanted to wake up Rope Tree and Watergate, but then he remembered that he was no longer on a mission outside. War syndrome was really scary. He only stayed for a few months and it was already like this. He really didn't know how those who stayed on the battlefield for several years got through it. He repeatedly turned in bed, but his mind was always thinking about what Tsunade told him. If he took the benefits, but didn't do it, Tsunade would definitely make him die a horrible death. Troublesome. So he changed out of his pajamas and casually walked out of the house. He was going to stroll around and go to the village's business street to find some breakfast to fill his stomach. Although it was still early, there were still a lot of pedestrians on the road. But for him, he didn't know a single person. Wait, he didn't know a single person? Akira Uchiha just thought this, then he saw an acquaintance, Nishimura Shin-sensei. He rubbed his eyes and found that it was indeed Nishimura Shin-sensei. As the director of the unscrupulous class who taught him for 6 years, Akira Uchiha could recognize him from far away. At this time, Nishimura Shin-sensei was standing far away in a small forest. But as far as he knew, Nishimura Shin-sensei was late for class every day. Why did he get up so early today? This didn't make sense. So he immediately turned around and walked toward the forest, wanting to explore the other person's little secret. When he got closer, he was more sure that he didn't see the wrong person. He was tall and burly, with dark skin, wearing a light green Chunin vest. This tall body, this dark skin, who else could it be? But Nishimura Shogun's back was facing him, so Akira Uchiha couldn't see his face, but he was sure that it was Nishimura Shin-sensei. Just as he was about to greet him, he noticed that Nishimura-sensei seemed to be holding someone in his arms. One must know that Nishimura-sensei was about 185 meters tall. He was muscular and had a huge body, so the person in his arms was almost completely covered by his body. That was impossible, right? Teacher Nishimura had already gotten married this summer. That's right. Nishimura, who had been on blind dates for 6 years without success, immediately found a partner after they graduated. Therefore, this really hurt Akira Uchiha's self-esteem. So, instead of accompanying his wife at home so early in the morning, he was cuddling with someone else in the woods? This could definitely be explained. Akira Uchiha thought. He had absolute faith in Nishimura's character. Thus, he quickly approached and hid behind a tree, preparing to find evidence to prove Nishimura-sensei's innocence. First, it was the sound of panting. Extremely intense panting sounds could be heard. Afterwards, no, this sound can also be explained. Maybe they were just exercising? This is for you. This is half a month's salary. Nishimura Shogun's rough voice could be heard. This money can also be explained. Maybe it was just a breakup fee? Nishimura-sensei must have fallen in love with the other party at first sight. Then, within an hour of meeting, they had sex. After that, both parties broke up and had no choice but to give the other party some breakup fee. This must be the truth, Akira Uchiha told himself. He had absolute faith in Nishimura Shogun's character. No, I can't take this money. The voice of rejection. But it was equally rough and powerful. Man. Akira Uchiha scratched his head. This time, he really couldn't explain it. Nishimura-sensei, you're a beast. You have a wife and you're still having sex outside? And you're giving half a month's salary for one time? After all, a Chunin ninja school's salary wasn't low. Half a month's salary for one time. Isn't this raising the price of goods? In order to maintain the balance of the market economy, this is Woodleaf-sensei's glorious image and reputation. Akira Uchiha felt that he had an obligation to stop this kind of behavior. This is the responsibility and obligation of every Woodleaf ninja. So, hiding behind the tree and eavesdropping, he first took a deep breath and then coughed fiercely. Who is it? Nishimura Shogun shouted in horror. He thought that he was discovered by his wife. Ahem, don't be nervous, sensei. Long time no see. Akira Uchiha walked out from behind the tree. When he saw the person who was having sex with Nishimura-sensei, he was also shocked. An acquaintance. To be exact, the two had never met before, and the other party didn't know him at all, but Akira Uchiha knew the other party. It was a guy in green tights, with a neat beard and a hairstyle that was parted in 3s and 7s. Don't look at anything else, just this green tights like a green grassland. You know who this person is. Meito Dai. Akira Uchiha seemed to have discovered a great secret, a mystery about Guy's life. Looking at Akira Uchiha's strange eyes, Nishimura-sensei coughed and said, Don't misunderstand. We just finished training our bodies, and we did a 500 laps training around Woodleaf. Now we're massaging each other's bodies to relieve muscle fatigue. There's such a thing? By the way, let me introduce you. This is my best friend, Meito Dai. Nishimura-sensei pointed to the man next to him and said, This is the one I mentioned to you yesterday, Woodleaf's youngest jonin, my former student. Nishimura-sensei smiled at Dai, but his tone was full of bragging. After all, he taught a Woodleaf hero. Hello, senpai. Akira Uchiha nodded. Well, Dai was at a loss. After all, he was only a genin now. As a 10,000-year genin who graduated more than 10 years ago, he was often ridiculed by the Chunin, so he was naturally restrained in front of this kind of jonin. However, Nishimura-sensei didn't notice this. He waved his hand and said, Chen, don't call me sensei anymore. You're already a jonin now, according to rank, you've already surpassed me. Akira Uchiha shook his head. A sensei will always be a sensei, this has nothing to do with identity. By the way, what are you doing here? He glanced and saw the envelope on the ground. Inside should be Nishimura-sensei's half-month salary. Hearing this, Dai was a little unnatural. Nishimura-sensei also hesitated for a moment. He said in a very deep tone, Dai, there's a 10 million tael shop here that's going to open, but it's still short of 1,000 taels startup capital. Damn, Akira Uchiha was stunned. This was the first time he heard someone talk about borrowing money in such a fresh and refined way. Chapter 193. Akira Uchiha bent down, picked up the stack of thin envelopes, and then flicked the dust on them. The envelope was very light, and he could feel that there was not much money in it, not even as much as last night's meal. Looking at the expression of the two, how could he not see that the so-called shop was just a lie to cover up Dai's embarrassment? Obviously, Dai had no money, so he borrowed money from Nishimura, sensei. So, in the future, the hero who successfully covered the retreat of 3 people, and finally sacrificed himself heroically, now needs to rely on a friend's help to survive? One had to know that Mato Dai might even be the strongest physical technique expert of this era. How could he fall to this point? Akira Uchiha sighed. Poverty is a disease, and it is a terminal disease. Now Dai seems to be terminally ill. However, why is Dai so poor? This is easy to figure out. As a genin, according to the village's regulations, he is not eligible to take those high-level missions, so his income must be extremely meager. Even if his income is meager, he can't extract chakra, so he can only specialize in physical training. But physical training is very expensive, and it requires a variety of medicinal herbs to nourish the body. Especially after opening the Hashiman Tonku, the damage to the body is not something that ordinary people can bear. Perhaps, this is the reason why Dai wears green tights all year round. After all, this set of clothes is not only good-looking, the most important thing is that it is cheap. Thinking of this, Akira Uchiha felt that he should do something. For example, responding to the call for targeted poverty alleviation? Sensei, what kind of shop are you going to open? He decided not to expose Nishimura, sensei's lie. I haven't thought about it yet. Nishimura, sensei said vaguely. Who knows what kind of shop he is going to open? This money is not even enough to buy a toilet. If there is nothing else, you can go ahead. Nishimura decided to send his student away, in case he accidentally spilled the beans one day. He secretly took out this money without his wife's knowledge. Sensei, in fact, I also want to open a shop, but I don't have the manpower. Akira Uchiha thought about it and said, why don't the 3 of us work together, what do you think? Huh? Nishimura and Dai were stunned. I need a lot of explosive charms and shurikens, so I'm going to open a weapons store in Woodleaf's business district, specializing in selling all kinds of weapons and training equipment. Nishimura was speechless. Dai was speechless. Just because he wanted to use the explosive talisman, he wanted to open a weapons store. Wasn't that a little too rich? They are both ninjas, but why is the gap between them so big? Akira Uchiha did not pay attention to the shocked expressions of the two. Although this idea was a temporary one, it was actually very feasible. One must know that Woodleaf has a lot of ninjas, and the weapon shop business is always the most popular, so this kind of business will never lose money. Besides, it's not strange for a ninja to open a shop in Woodleaf. Even the patriarch of the Yamanaka clan like Yamanaka Inoichi has a flower shop, so it's good to have a source of income for himself. But these are not the most important reasons. Akira Uchiha just saw that Kaihuang's father was so poor that he had to rely on borrowing money to live, so he wanted to help him. Yes, since he has the ability, why not help? On the one hand, this is to respect Dai, and on the other hand, he can get a lot of benefits by doing this kind of thing. First of all, Dai is definitely a person worthy of deep friendship. His character is there. And if the relationship is good, it will be convenient to ask Dai to teach taijutsu or even Hashiman Tonku in the future. If you don't have a good relationship with him, why would he give you forbidden arts? Although Dai is honest, he's not a fool. Not everyone had thick eyebrows like Shaoli. So, making a good relationship with Dai is definitely a win-win situation. Just as the great ancestor had taught him, make as many of your own people as possible and as few of your enemies as possible. Akira Uchiha is walking down this path. But opening a weapons store needs a lot of money. Do you have that much money? Nishimura hesitated. He knows that this kind of store needs a lot of startup capital. It's not something he can solve with just a few melons or 2 dates. Well, I have made enough contributions on the battlefield, so I have enough money. Akira Uchiha nodded. Then what about the store? There are a lot of stores in the commercial street that you can't buy with money. Akira Uchiha smiled. You don't need to worry about the store. One must know that Rope Tree always says that his family has mines and houses. He's not just bragging. It can be said that half of the stores in the commercial street belong to the Thousand Hands clan. Although they are now declining, most of the land deeds are still in Tsunade's hands. So Tsunade is not only a big fat sheep, but also a landlady. Now that Tsunade is asking him for a favor, it's not too much to ask her for some benefits, right? So the store is not a problem. The important thing is the location. The location is a big problem related to feng shui. So what's the point of choosing? It must be next to Ichiraku Ramen. One must know that Ichiraku Ramen is an existence that even pain can't destroy. If the store is placed there, there is no need to worry about the safety. Later, when Akira Uchiha retires, he can go and be neighbors with Ichiraku Otsutsuki. What do you think, Nishimura, Sensei and Uncle Dai? Akira Uchiha said seriously, I don't lack funds, but I don't have a supply. You practice physical skills every day, so you must be very clear about which weapons are cheap. The store can be managed by your family, and the money you earn will definitely be more than the task. Akira Uchiha is telling the truth. The store lacks people to take care of it, so he is relieved to hand it over to Nishimura, Sensei and Dai. Letting their wives manage the store, Nishimura, Sensei can continue to teach. Dai also has time to cultivate, and the economic problem is solved. So Akira Uchiha is sure that they will agree. In his opinion, as long as it is a problem that can be solved with money, it is not a problem. Dai, what do you think? Nishimura asked. Dai nodded and agreed. In order to help him, the West Village had taken out their salary to help him, and this little brat opened the shop to take care of him. How can Dai not be moved? At this moment, he even had the thought of not being a ninja and focusing on helping with the store. If Akira Uchiha knew Dai's thoughts, he would probably be shocked. Since it's decided, you guys go find the supply, and I'll go get the money. Akira Uchiha solved the problem and was in a good mood. Shin, wait. Nishimura, Sensei, what's wrong? Akira Uchiha turned and asked. If you have time, you should also go to the ninja school. The new students I teach know that you are my student, and they all want to meet you. Nishimura, Sensei said. Akira Uchiha raised his eyebrows. Although his level of armor release is not low, it is not perfect yet. It seems like he can farm it again. Then it's settled. There is also a problem child, so you can help me talk to him. Without waiting for Akira Uchiha to speak, Nishimura pulled Dai's hand and quickly left. Chapter 194. Everyone has a talent for spreading rumors. Even ninjas are no exception. No one knows when it started, but there was a rumor in Woodleaf that Tsunade owed a huge amount of gambling debt and mortgaged the title deed to repay the debt. For a time, Woodleaf's economy fluctuated widely, and the real estate prices soared. It was in this environment that a weapon store named Italian Cannon quietly opened next to Ichihara Ramen. In line with the principle of making a fortune silently, Akira Uchiha disappeared for several days, which made Tsunade angry. In this way, time slowly passed. Finally, it was the 15th. It was an important day. The biggest clan in Woodleaf, the Uchiha clan, will hold a sacrificial ceremony, and all members with Sharingan will go to the Naka shrine to participate in the ancestral worship. When dusk fell, Akira Uchiha and Mikoto set off for the shrine together. At this time, the sun was like a dull old man, pulling 2 long shadows. The October dusk was a little cold. The clouds flowed quickly, and through them, the golden light spread out. The wind blew, blowing the river, making a rustling sound. Chen, look. What a beautiful river. Mikoto pointed to the sparkling river and said, Yes, it's really beautiful. Looking at the Naka River in front of him, Akira Uchiha was a little stunned. The Naka River is the only river that flows through Woodleaf. Most people know about this river, but few people know that this is actually the place where the Woodleaf hidden village began. In the past, Hashirama met Uchiha Madara, who also had a dream, here. The two became familiar with each other under the matchmaking of fate. Then, they would spend their money here, have a tryst here, tell their dreams here, and pledge their lives here. And then, the two also completely broke up here. So it's not an exaggeration to call this the place where the Woodleaf hidden village began. However, this land of dreams was also buried with blood and tears. During the Warring States period, the Uchiha clan and the Chenju clan had been fighting each other for thousands of years. The river drowned countless corpses. It was also here that Shursui entrusted his left eye to Itachi and committed suicide by jumping into the river. The last chance to change the fate of the Uchiha clan disappeared in this vast river. It could be said that the 1,000-year-old Nankakawa had witnessed the joys and sorrows of the ninja world. This was truly a place that hid blood and tears. Gazing at the river, Akira Uchiha's thoughts began to wander like grass. He wasn't sure if he could change the fate of the Uchiha clan. Where could he take the future? At this moment, Mikoto's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Chen, we've arrived at the Naka Shrine." Hearing Mikoto's words, Akira Uchiha looked up and saw a huge vermilion torii. The torii was engraved with Uchiha fans and blood-red magatama. At this time, a 15-year-old boy was standing under the torii, seemingly waiting for someone. When he saw Akira Uchiha and Mikoto, he quickly walked over. This boy was the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku. "Chen, Mikoto, long time no see." Uchiha Fugaku took the initiative to greet him as he approached. "Yes, long time no see, young patriarch." Akira Uchiha showed a shallow smile. He didn't seem to be particularly close, nor did he seem to dislike him. Mikoto nodded in acknowledgement as well. "Didn't we agree not to call me young patriarch? Just call me brother Fugaku." He put his left hand on Akira Uchiha's shoulder and smiled warmly. It seemed that the two were very familiar with each other. In fact, they weren't familiar with each other. Ever since Mount Uchiha allowed the two to interact more in their second year, Fugaku had indeed looked for Akira Uchiha several times. For the sake of communication, the two had fought many times. However, the young patriarch had been defeated every time. However, Fugaku seemed to enjoy it. Of course, he wasn't an SM. This was just a way for Mount Uchiha to win over the genius Akira Uchiha. Using blood ties and friendship to bind, there was no better method than this. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been dead set on the patriarch's family. "Okay, let's go in." Fugaku's eyes were burning. He then held Akira Uchiha's hand tightly and walked towards the shrine. Throughout the entire process, he didn't mention the matter that he had been waiting for a long time. Under Fugaku's lead, the few of them washed their hands with a long wooden spoon in front of the shrine before entering the shrine. The shrine was very large and spacious. In the middle of the high platform, the memorial tablets of the patriarchs of the Uchiha clan were enshrined. Akira Uchiha looked up, but he was a little surprised. Because the name on the last memorial tablet was actually Uchiha Shimada. What's going on? You know, when Mount Uchiha was in Banley village, he was only 16 or 17 years old. At this age, he was certainly not old enough to be the patriarch. At least there was a patriarch in between. It was very simple to not have Madara's memorial tablet. When he left Woodleaf, it was equivalent to betraying the clan, so he was removed. But what about the patriarch's memorial tablet after Madara? After thinking about it, Akira Uchiha decided to ask Orochimaru sensei. This kind of thing didn't happen that long ago. Orochimaru must know about it. Quiet. Mount Uchiha appeared in the hall. At this time, he was wearing the patriarch's unique costume and holding the patriarch's Uchiha fan in his hand. Seeing this, Akira Uchiha almost laughed. He remembered that the fan was taken away by Madara, so this one, it should be a counterfeit. It's too pitiful. After the hall was quiet, Mount Uchiha began to lead the people to worship the ancestors. Ancestors, please bless the family bloodline. Ancestors, please bless the family and make it prosperous. God bless Uchiha. After a series of grand prayers, the secret meeting finally began. In the main hall of the Naka shrine, under the seventh piece of rice on the right side, there was the Uchiha secret meeting place. Let's go in. After Fugaku finished speaking, he walked into the depths of the building. Akira Uchiha did not hesitate to follow his figure and walked into the underground passage. Mikoto followed Akira Uchiha. After the people went down one after another, the exit of the passage was automatically closed and replaced by an ordinary tatami. After walking for more than 10 minutes, they finally came to a huge secret room. Akira Uchiha saw 2 torches. They were slowly burning there. The flickering flames illuminated the entire secret room, filling it with a mysterious color. There were 2 symbols of the Uchiha family on the wall. In front of the fan, there was a stone tablet that looked very old. The stone tablet left by the sage of the 6 paths, where all the secrets were buried. Chapter 195. The torch emitted a soft light that shrouded the huge secret room. How about it? Isn't it too exaggerated? Fugaku touched Akira Uchiha's shoulder. Hearing these words, he raised his head and looked. He saw all kinds of ancient marks everywhere. However, the most intuitive feeling that Akashi got from this place was that it was like a nagging old man, full of decaying death energy. Looking at the stone tablet in front of him, he was a little surprised. Although he didn't know why the Sage of 6 Paths left this stone tablet. But this stone tablet did bring a lot of trouble. Without this stone tablet, Black Zetsu wouldn't change the content on it, and Madara might not put his eyes on the Jubi and Infinite Tsukuyomi. So, what was the purpose of the Sage of 6 Paths leaving this stone tablet? To persuade the future generations? If a few words could persuade the future generations, then Indra wouldn't have reincarnated so many times. Looking at him staring at the stone tablet, Fugaku explained. It is said that this stone tablet was left by the Sage of 6 Paths. It records the secrets written by the Sage of 6 Paths. Among them, the Sharingan of our family is included. Unfortunately, reading this stone tablet seems to have a requirement for the strength of the eyes, and the family can only read a part of the content. Akira Uchiha nodded. He was not curious about the content of the stone tablet. After all, he roughly knew what the stone tablet was talking about. Is every gathering always so grand? Isn't this a secret gathering? Why is it that Woodleaf doesn't know? Generally, it's very secretive. But this time is special. Fugaku pondered for a moment. Because tonight I will be confirmed as the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan. Weren't you the young patriarch before? Akira Uchiha was stunned. Not before. Only after opening the Sharingan will I be officially confirmed as the official young patriarch. Fugaku's face was a little heavy. In fact, if I can, I really want to not open the Sharingan for the rest of my life. It seemed that Fugaku was very sad. The cursed bloodline of the Uchiha clan is not something that can be casually said. For us, it's more important to protect those who are still alive, isn't it? Akira Uchiha patted his shoulder. Yes, you're right. We must live on and protect all the Uchiha people. From Fugaku's perspective, there was nothing wrong with this statement, but from the perspective of the leaders of Woodleaf, it was completely out of line with the core values of the Will of Fire. Therefore, people like him were not destined to become Naruto. If he wanted to become Naruto, he should at least shout his slogan loudly. Shen, is the battlefield very scary? Fugaku asked curiously. He had always wanted to go to the battlefield, but his father, Mount Uchiha, did not allow him to go. The young man in front of him was an existence who had made great contributions, so he must know the details, right? Of course the battlefield is terrifying. With thousands of people fighting, you need to keep killing until you are killed or the enemy dies. Uchiha Chen shook his head. Why do you want to go? Yes, I do want to go, if it's possible. Trust me, you'll never want to see that kind of scene again after seeing it once. I was so scared that I even forgot about the 3-body technique. Uchiha-chan thought of Pomuro again and let out a long sigh. He did not even have the chance to visit Pomelo at the memorial tablet after returning. If I have a son in the future, I'll let him go to the battlefield from a young age and experience the atmosphere of the battlefield. How can an eagle be confined to a golden cage? Fugaku said seriously. Ahaha, I believe you can do that. Akira Uchiha laughed dryly. No wonder Itachi went to the battlefield at the age of 3, so this was how it came to be. I heard you opened a weapon shop. Are you short of money? No, I just opened it for fun. If you're short of money, tell me. I've told you a few times that you can stay at my place. My bed is big, more than enough for 2 people. As all the clansmen came to the secret room, Mount Uchiha finally walked out of the darkness. Clansmen, there are 3 important things to announce tonight. As soon as the voice of the patriarch fell, the whole secret room immediately became quiet. First, today I officially appoint Fugaku as the young leader of the Uchiha clan. After Uchiha Yama finished speaking, Fugaku walked through the crowd to the stone tablet and took the fake Uchiha round fan. Akira Uchiha was too far away to hear what Mount Uchiha and Fugaku were talking about, but with his Sharingan, he could clearly see that Fugaku was holding the fan tightly and trying to suppress his excitement. It seems that he was not as calm as he looked. Second, under my strong request, Flying Ape Nichiren finally took a step back. In a few days, I will take the elites of the clan to protect the safety of the daimyo and monitor the Sand Village. Uchiha waved his hand. This seems to be a small step, but it's a big step for the Uchiha clan. We all know that as one of the 2 major clans of the Woodleaf Village, we have worked hard for the sake of the Woodleaf Village, but we still don't have a Naruto. We survived the cruel Warring States period, but we still don't have the status we deserve. The 4th Naruto, the only goal of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha's speech was fierce, inciting the emotions of the clansmen. Akira Uchiha was a little bit emotional. This seems to be a bit similar to the pyramid schemes in his previous life. Finally, Uchiha was a little tired, and then he stopped the speech. Third, we all know that Akira Uchiha made a great contribution in the Land of Rain battlefield, but the village didn't reward him. This is a naked suppression. So I have decided to approve Akira Uchiha to join the Yi Guard team as a captain. The atmosphere in the crowd became more excited. A 10-year-old captain, this has already made history in the clan. Yes. Akira Uchiha was stunned. What kind of trick was this? He wasn't a member of the guard team. How did he become a captain? He couldn't figure out what Uchiha wanted to do for a while. Until Mikoto gave him a push, he went forward to stand with Fugaku. I hope you can protect the Uchiha clan with Fugaku. You must remember that you will always be a Uchiha clan member. Uchiha smiled. At this moment, listening to the cheers of the clansmen below, Akira Uchiha was a little helpless. I really don't know when we will have a Uchiha Naruto. Fugaku whispered. There will be bread, there will be milk. Akira Uchiha said. Fugaku suddenly turned to look at Akira Uchiha. What's wrong? You come with me to the great house and help me, how about it? Uchiha Fugaku extended his hand and made an invitation. Chapter 196. Autumn was getting thicker, and the air was getting colder and clearer. Along with the sound of footsteps, the streets gradually appeared in his field of vision. Suddenly, Akira Uchiha had a feeling that he was looking down at himself from above. The tiny rays of light in the ancestral land, coupled with the towering Naruto rock, made his imagination run wild. Under the moonlight, the 2 of them walked side by side into the courtyard, and then the girl tilted her head. Do you want to come in? After that, she added, we can have supper together. He rubbed his stomach. Although he had already eaten before, the young man still decided to eat a little more. The house was not big, but it was very clean. Upon closer inspection, the layout of the room was 70 to 80% similar to Akira Uchiha's house. In other words, both sides were actually decorated by the same person, but there was more of a girl's aura here. Akira Uchiha sat on a chair in the living room, and on the table was a very carefully made flower arrangement. He sniffed it, and a light fragrance came to his nose. After a while, Mikoto came over with 2 cups of flower tea on a tray. "Drink." He nodded, then picked up the tea in front of him and took a sip. The rich tea fragrance, coupled with the suitable temperature of the water, was full of enjoyment. Mikoto was really gentle and attentive. "Didn't you say yesterday that the light in the bedroom was broken?" After drinking the tea, Akira Uchiha asked. "Yeah, I can only see things with my Sharingan at night." "Then I'll fix it for you." "Is that okay?" "No problem, I'm a professional." While changing the light bulb, Mikoto put on an apron and went to the kitchen. Soon, the house was filled with the smell of cooking and food. Half an hour later, the two of them sat across from each other at a small wooden table. "It smells so good. I love egg fried rice the most. Is this a compliment to my culinary skills?" Mikoto laughed as she ate her meal. "By the way, there might be eggshells mixed in. Be careful when you eat it." After Mikoto finished speaking, Akira Uchiha's face turned red. Hey, are you still holding a grudge against my fried eggs? Isn't it just some eggshells? Ha ha ha, I really can't forget that fried egg. But the taste is still not bad, right? Not bad. Mikoto was amused. Speaking of the taste. She smiled and looked at Akira Uchiha. "To be honest, it's disgusting, super disgusting." "You're too much." Akira Uchiha knocked on the table. "Mikoto-san, you're too mean. You're actually mocking me. You shouldn't have such an attitude." Mikoto couldn't help but laugh at the teenager's protest. After the cutlery was cleaned up, the room was filled with the warm fragrance of tea. Green curtains hung on the windows, and the room was tinged with a pale green. The two of them sat on the chairs and looked at the moonlight outside the window. Mikoto liked quiet people, but today she was a little different from her usual self. She took the initiative to talk about a lot of interesting things. Uchiha-chen listened attentively and occasionally responded with a nod. He sat on the chair by the window. He didn't look at Mikoto, but he clearly knew that she had a smile on her face. Mikoto's bare feet made soft muffled sounds when she stepped on the floor. It sounded like a wonderful melody in his ears. He didn't know why, but at this moment, the endless worries, endless anxiety, and the confusion and uneasiness that covered his body like a thin film after returning from the battlefield all left him. In his mind, he turned the emotions that came from the deepest part of his heart into words, carefully preventing them from disintegrating. Maybe this is the taste of family. Hearing Mikoto talking about the mission, Akira Uchiha hesitated and asked, "Mikoto, do you prefer to perform missions with your people, or do you prefer to perform missions like this?" Mikoto thought for a moment and said, "Rope Tree and Watergate are our good friends, and everyone is happy to get along with each other. But the attitude of my people is not so good, and I don't like to be with them." "Yes, I don't like it very much either. So, today the young patriarch invited me to go with him to the daimyo mansion, but I refused." "Oh." Mikoto nodded. "It's right not to go. We killed Guardian Ninja 12, so it's better not to go there now." "I think so too. And I feel that the clan will suffer a big loss this time." "Why do you say that?" "Think about it. We killed the Sand Village's Jonin and cut off their food supply route. How can they fight us without food? In order to maintain the war situation, the 3 generations of Kazekage will definitely reopen this route at all costs. At this time, the Patriarch will take people to protect the safety of the daimyo mansion, and the two sides will definitely meet. And those merchants will leak the information of the Woodleaf Ninja to the Sand Village for their own interests. Although the Patriarch has a large number of people and is strong, he will probably suffer a big loss. Then why did the Patriarch ask for this mission from Naruto-sama?" Mikoto was a little confused. Since it was so dangerous, why did he go? At the meeting, the Patriarch said that he asked for this mission from the third Naruto. That's not the case. The Patriarch is just saying it. Think about it, what is better to be forced to you, or to ask for it yourself? Akira Uchiha shook his head. "And Orochimaru, Sensei told me that it was Shimura Danzo who proposed to let the Uchiha clan protect the daimyo mansion. It is said that the third Naruto quarreled with him about this, but in the end, he had no choice but to agree. This statement sounded a little bit wrong, but thinking about Danzo's character, Akira Uchiha was relieved. It's just that he didn't expect the third Naruto to be a good person. Shimura Danzo? Well, he is the leader of Root, the leader of the Wood Leaf clan. He is an extremely dangerous person. Be careful when you meet him in the future. Well, since he is so dangerous, I will protect you in the future. Mikoto whispered, and finally leaned her head on the boy's shoulder. Mikoto? Akira Uchiha whispered. Mikoto's expression was a little strange. Was today a special day? Nothing, I just want to lean on you. Mikoto whispered. Chen. Mikoto leaned on his shoulder and muttered a few words. What? He didn't hear it clearly. I like you. Well, he heard it clearly this time. How much do you like me? Like a little bear in spring. But I have always played the role of a little bear in spring. A little bear is fat, it doesn't look good at all. Alright then. Mikoto's head moved a little and shifted into a more comfortable position. Then, little bear, san, do you like me? Akira Uchiha reached out and patted Mikoto's head, and whispered in her ear. The moon is beautiful tonight. Chapter 197. Autumn was always a season that made people depressed. The green leaves gradually turned yellow and shivered in the cold wind. Who liked this kind of season? A few days ago, a group of ninjas headed to the Kawanishi country. A long time ago, the Uchiha clan's patriarch also brought the elites of the clan and headed to the daimyo house. For a while, the noisy village became quiet again. Because of the departure of the Uchiha clan, the security force suddenly became a little short of manpower. For the sake of Konoha's security, at the request of Danzo, the Root ninjas also began to be active in the village, temporarily acting as a security force. Everyone knew that the war that had just ended was about to start again. In this kind of environment, the business of the Italian cannon weapons store became more and more prosperous, like they were making a fortune from the war. For a while, Dai had mixed feelings. When he was a genin before, he had no money and no people, so he was mocked by the other genin and chunin all day. But since he opened a store in the most prosperous area of Woodleaf, his former colleagues began to greet him and everyone seemed to have a good relationship with him. The only regret was that his ninja career was coming to an end. It was a pity that he couldn't become a chunin in the end. But it didn't matter. When he had a son in the future, he would let his son realize his dream. There was nothing a son couldn't solve. If there was, then there would be two. Akira Uchiha naturally didn't know that Kai Huang would have a little brother for no reason, just like how Kakashi might become a Kali. He had changed too many things since coming to this world, everything had changed. Some changes were good and some changes were bad, but these all needed time to prove. While Tsunade wasn't home, Akira Uchiha quietly ran to Mito's small yard and dug out the wine hidden under the tree. In Mito's words, there were many things left behind by Hashirama, but this wine was the most precious. Even the village couldn't compare to this. But it was a good thing that only he and Shina Kushina knew about it, otherwise it would have been swept clean by Tsunade. Taking out a bottle of wine, Akira Uchiha buried the soil again. Then he followed the path and slowly walked into the cemetery, stopping in a remote place. It was unknown who had placed a fresh bouquet in front of the tombstone, but that person didn't seem to have left that long ago. He sat on the ground and spread his legs, carefully opening the seal on the bottle and the wax seal at the bottom. A rich wine fragrance came out just like that. As the smell wafted in the air, a crow landed on Chen's shoulder, and its black eyes stared straight at the wine jug. Akira Uchiha shook his head to refuse. This bottle of wine will not be given to anyone else. Drinking this bottle of wine is equivalent to having a deep conversation with Mito. So he didn't pay attention to the crow. After taking a deep breath, he tasted the delicious wine alone. Old wine should be mixed with new wine to bring out the mellow taste of the wine. Akira Uchiha didn't do so. He was worried that after diluting this bottle of wine, he wouldn't be able to taste the original taste. After taking a sip, He savored it carefully. He had never drunk before, but now he somewhat understood why Mito liked this taste. Bang! The crow fell onto the grass and wobbled as it swung back and forth. It seemed to be very fascinated by the smell of the wine. After smelling it too much, it became drunk and began to act crazy on the ground. Yawning, Akira Uchiha slowly got up and put the bottle of wine in his pocket. Then he carried the slightly drunk crow and walked towards another cemetery. In another extremely remote place, Akira Uchiha found Pomelo's tombstone. But there was a familiar figure sitting there. Rope Tree, how is Pomelo? Pomelo said that it is very happy here. It feels like home. Everyone here is talented and nice to hear, but it's a bit lonely. Oh, I'm sorry Pomelo, I'm late. Akira Uchiha put a bunch of chrysanthemums in front of the tombstone and then sat cross-legged next to Rope Tree. The crow was also put on the ground by him. Did you just come from Grandma's place? Rope Tree sniffed. He only smelled this wine from Mito. Yes, I talked with her and reported the situation of Shina Kushina. Then I met a new friend. Akira Uchiha pointed to the drunk crow on the ground. Rope Tree nodded and said, I heard from my sister that you are leaving. Well, the sand-hidden village attacked the Land of Fire. A new round of war is about to break out. Your group of genin will continue to rest, but the jonin will have to go to the battlefield. This is also something that can't be helped. The village can't let the same group of genin appear on the battlefield endlessly. In order to preserve the strength of the village, rotation is necessary. Of course, the jonin will also rotate, but the time is much shorter than the genin. So this time, in any case, Akira Uchiha will temporarily say goodbye to the first squad. Rope Tree's expression seemed to have a trace of loneliness. Such an expression made him show a rare trace of decadence. Hey, it's not like you won't see me again. You have to wait for a few months even if you don't want to go to the battlefield. Isn't it good to rest for a while? Are you still worried about my strength? Akira Uchiha patted Rope Tree's shoulder and smiled. After a moment of silence, Rope Tree suddenly raised his head. I hate war. It's hard to imagine that this is what Rope Tree said. After all, a few months ago, he was full of yearning for the battlefield. So it's said that tribulations really make people grow. In contrast, Uchiha Fugaku is still at a lower level. This is the difference between not having experienced war. The younger Rope Tree is, the faster he matures. Chen, the future you talked about, can we really do it? Rope Tree was a little unconfident. After all, this is something that even his grandfather couldn't do. Of course, the future is ours. As long as we want to, there is nothing we can't do. Akira Uchiha said firmly. Although Minato and Nawaki were not very confident, he understood the future better than anyone else. He knew the general direction of the future better than anyone. After Rope Tree nodded, he lay on the ground with his head in his hands and looked at the sky. Chen, when there is no war in the future, I will find a girl to marry. Really? That's good. Akira Uchiha also lay on the ground and hugged the crow. I even have a name for my child. Oh. What? Akira Uchiha suddenly straightened up from the ground. The black crow standing on his leg was sent flying by the huge impact. A few seconds later, a shrill scream came from the grass. Caw 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 caw. Pomelo, thousand-handed Pomelo, that's the name, Rope Tree said softly. Pomelo, huh? That's good. You want a girl. Akira Uchiha lay back down. Then she can marry my son. Ha! Rope Tree sat up this time. Shusui, Uchiha Shusui, my son. What, you don't want to? Chapter 198. Akira Uchiha wasn't in the mood to eat for the whole day. Now, looking at the crow eating the fruit, he felt his stomach was empty. Just as he was about to open his mouth to ask, the crow's black eyes flashed with disdain. He didn't give it any wine to drink, but it still hated him. Chen, come to my house tonight, my sister has something to ask you. No, I don't want to see her recently. After shaking his head, he suddenly reacted and said, That's not right, Tsunade isn't at home today, right? Sure enough, I knew you went to my house to steal wine today. Nonsense, the wine left by Grandma Mito was all drunk by Tsunade, Shinakushina can testify. Rope Tree really wanted to find out where the wine was buried, but Akira Uchiha and Shinakushina were very tight-lipped. After sitting on the ground for a long time, their legs began to feel numb. After knocking on the ground a few times, the two staggered back to the village. Seeing the two leave, the crow was a little anxious, but it didn't want to give up its fruit. After weighing the pros and cons, it reluctantly flew towards the figure that was about to disappear around the corner. Can this be eaten? Rope Tree used his hand to measure the crow's size. It seemed that the crow was wondering if the pot at home was big enough. After the crow stood firmly on Akira Uchiha's shoulder, it immediately glared at Rope Tree. Do you want to go back with me? Akira Uchiha asked. It nodded without hesitation, and then called out twice towards the sky as if saying goodbye. A few seconds later, a response came from the depths of the forest. The creatures in the ninja world were just that wonderful. Some had large bodies, some had outstanding intelligence, and some could even speak. If they lived a little better, they could occupy an uninhabited place and reproduce, then they could give themselves a grand name, Summon Beast. If their luck was a little better, they could learn a few senjutsu and fool an idiot every few days, then their value would double, and it was possible for them to become a holy land. For example, a certain toad was well versed in this. From the sage of the 6 realms to the child of prophecy, there was no one that he didn't trick, and the target of his deception was very simple, the descendants of aliens. From the perspective of survival, it's done perfectly. From a small place that no one knew about, it has developed into a famous holy land in the shinobi world. It has both status and safety. In contrast, the 9 adorable tailed beasts were busy trying to survive 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years later, they were still busy trying to survive. In the end, they even lost their freedom. Disgraceful, too disgraceful. All immortals' faces had been thrown away by them. As the two of them walked, they admired the parasol tree leaves on both sides of the road. In the cold wind, the leaves fell very quickly. At first, it was very poetic, but later, large patches of leaves fell down. The Rope Tree removed 2 large leaves from his face and threw them aside. Then, 2 more leaves covered his face. What are you learning ninjutsu for? Akira Uchiha laughed. There was a spinning chakra in his palm, constantly forming airflow that took the leaves to other places. Looking at the spinning chakra, the Rope Tree seemed to remember something. You said you would teach me Rasengan, when will you teach me? The Rope Tree's tone was a bit self-righteous. However, Akira Uchiha didn't have anything to say, who told him to have ideas about Rasengan's daughter. Tomorrow, you and Watergate will come to me together. I will take advantage of this time to explain everything. After saying that, Akira Uchiha looked up. The sky was full of gray clouds. The wind became more violent, and large pieces of leaves were blown into the air. Just as they were about to leave the cemetery, a girl came over from another path. Her worn shoes made a pleasant and crisp sound on the ground, but this sound was immediately drowned out by the whistling wind. Her yellow braids swayed in the wind. The distance between the two was getting closer and closer, and then they were about to pass each other. At that moment, Akira Uchiha's heart suddenly flashed a thought. Where did he see her? Just as they were about to pass each other, the girl stopped, and the two looked at each other. It's you? The Rope Tree looked at her in confusion. Obviously he didn't recognize the thief who stole his backpack. The girl was as thin as ever, her height didn't seem to have changed, but she was a lot cleaner than a year ago. At least now he could recognize that she was a girl. It's just that the shabby clothes on her body, when the cold wind blew, she shivered, she looked pitiful. Who is she? How did she get into the wood leaf? Why did she appear here? 3 questions appeared in Akira Uchiha's mind. It's difficult for outsiders to enter the village, not to mention it's during the war. It seems that the girl in the kimono is really a wood leaf ninja, but he doesn't know which department she is from. But isn't there a very good source of information in front of him? With this thought, Akira Uchiha sent out an invitation. We know each other, it's fate. Let's go eat something and talk about old times. How about it? I don't have money, the girl coldly said. It's okay, you don't need to pay. See this crow, I'll stew it tonight. The crow just shook its wings, showing its full breasts and buttocks. Look, this is a professional wingman. The rope tree was stunned to see his good friend flirting with a girl. It seems unexpectedly easy. Should I also bring a slug with me? Just as he entered Senju's territory, the little fox Shinakushina, who seemed to have a radar on her nose, came out of nowhere. Who is this girl? She whispered in Akira Uchiha's ear. It was a very strange feeling, from the girl. Shinakushina seemed to see the scene 4 years ago when she came to Woodleaf alone. That kind of alienation and loneliness were exactly the same. We met her in a small town when we were on a mission in the 5th grade. But I didn't expect to meet her again in Woodleaf today. Shinakushina nodded and then said, Why don't we let her stay for dinner? This child is too thin. Because of malnutrition, the girl was shorter than Shinakushina by a head. So it was not a problem to call her a child. Seeing Akira Uchiha nodding, Shinakushina happily walked to the kitchen. She had nothing to do in the past few months, so her cooking skills improved. My name is Akira Uchiha, he is Rope Tree. The red-haired girl is Shinakushina. May I know your name? Sitting on a chair, Akira Uchiha asked while drinking tea. Nanoyu. Pharmacist Nanoyu. Puff. A mouthful of tea directly sprayed on Rope Tree. Chen, what are you doing? I'm sorry. Rope Tree had no choice but to go back to his room to change clothes. Have you heard of my name? Although she was young, Nanoyu's observation was very strong. More than just heard, it was like thunder in his ears. Another woman who almost brought the destruction of the ninja world. Although he thought so, Akira Uchiha shook his head and said, No, I just feel that the surname pharmacist is very strange. It's the first time I heard of it. Is it? Nanoyu didn't comment. Just as he carefully looked at the famous walking shaman, Rope Tree, who went out to change clothes, suddenly rushed in excitedly. I remember now. You are the thief who stole my backpack. P.S. Nanoyu died 31 years old. Ninja number is very close to Mikoto. The age of the two should not be too different. So she is not from the Sannin era. There is no problem with the timeline. Chapter 199. There were poor people everywhere, and even the prosperous Woodleaf was no exception. Here, even Mato Dai had to borrow money from others, let alone a helpless orphan. It was just a few ordinary dishes and rice, but Nanayu tasted it like a big meal. Shinakushina didn't say anything. She silently put her food in front of Nozomu and watched her throat move. I remember that Konoha has Orphan Relief Fund, right? Why does she look like she's starving? Rope Tree whispered into Akira Uchiha's ear. Rope Tree, do you know how many orphans there are in the village? It's true that Konoha has relief funds, but the target audience is the war orphans and the descendants of some ninjas. Woodleaf doesn't even have enough for the orphans in the village, let alone an outsider like Nozomu. So the money she gets is actually very little. I guess she's just barely starving to death. Rope Tree sighed. Even Woodleaf was like this. He didn't dare to imagine how miserable the outside world was. Just like that, the few of them watched as Inayu swept through like the wind sweeping away the clouds. She swallowed 4 or 5 bowls of rice in a few minutes. Then she looked at Shinakushina and said, Another bowl. Akira Uchiha almost fell down when he heard this. He couldn't let her eat anymore. It would be a tragedy if she hurt her stomach. Shinakushina also knew this, so she quickly served her a bowl of noodle soup to help her digest. Nozomu drank half a bowl of noodle soup, then touched her stomach with satisfaction. It's delicious. I'm barely 80% full. Hearing this, Shinakushina grinned from ear to ear. This was the first time someone praised her food. She glanced at the evil crow proudly. It was the first one who dared to spit out the food she made. Nozomu, what about the aunt who brought you to Woodleaf? Didn't she take care of you? Akira Uchiha asked as he stroked the trembling crow. She's dead. Akira Uchiha and Rope Tree looked at each other. The kimono woman was dead. About half a year ago, Chenya brought me to Woodleaf. Then she took a mission. She said that as long as I completed this mission, I wouldn't have to go out anymore. Not long after that, a ninja wearing a mask found me and said that Chenya was dead. Nozomu's voice was extremely calm, as if she was talking about something insignificant. But the calmer she was, the more you could feel the sadness in her words. After hearing this, the few of them remained silent. Kushina took Nanoyu's hand and asked, "What are you doing now?" Chenya signed me up at the Ninja Academy before he died. I'm currently studying there. She said that girls need to be able to protect themselves. Can you help her? Shina Kushina looked at Akira Uchiha with eager eyes. Nozomu's experience made her sympathize with her. As an orphan from the same village, she understood this feeling of loneliness very well. Akira Uchiha pondered for a moment and said, I have a very good recommendation. Uncle Dai told me a few times that we don't have enough people. If you want, you can help out at the weapons store in your free time. The salary will definitely be enough to support yourself. Nozomu nodded gratefully after hearing this. She really did need a job to support herself. As for why this young man helped her, she could only attribute it to his kindness. That's great. Shina Kushina stood up excitedly and stroked the crow's head. Then let's go, Nozomu. Go to my room, I found some clothes for you. You're wearing too little. Shina Kushina pulled Nozomu and ran outside excitedly. After the two ran out, the smile on Akira Uchiha's face slowly faded. Chen, that woman is dead. Should we tell Orochimaru-sensei? No need. Sensei should have known. Okay. I didn't expect her to die like this. Rope Tree sighed. That woman lurked in a small town and opened a hotel. It seems that she was either an Umbu or a root ninja. Akira Uchiha nodded. In fact, he was more inclined towards Root. Nozomu had been a spy for Root in the original work. An orphan of unknown origin like her, without a Root ninja's guarantee, would not be accepted. Rope Tree stood up and stretched. He took out a game of chess from the cabinet and asked, Do you want to play a game? Okay. After laying out the game, Rope Tree hesitated for a moment and asked, Chen, I don't understand. First, you helped a 10,000-year-old genin, and now an orphan. If this continues, are you going to open an orphanage in the future? Can your weapon store still make money? Akira Uchiha took a step forward and said, It doesn't matter if it makes money or not. It's just for fun. Compared to making money, I care more about their potential. You said, they have potential. Rope Tree was stunned. How come I don't see it? A 10,000-year-old genin and an orphan, what potential do they have? Akira Uchiha smiled but did not say anything. No one knew the potential of these two people better than him. One of them killed 4 of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the ninja sword by himself, and the other one was the famous Walking Witch of Root. After Tsunade left, Konoha's medical force captain grew to be the existence of Konoha's medical force. In his view, the head of the medical unit was like a silver general on the chessboard. Although it was not like a gold general who protected the king, it was still extremely important. Especially after Tsunade's reform, the medical unit's voice became heavier. Therefore, it was necessary to maintain a good relationship with Nozomu, who might become the next head of the medical unit. Everyone knew that in a game of chess, 1 against 20, one would lose without a doubt. Therefore, they had to do their best to protect these chess pieces by the side of the king general. The Umbu, as the sharp weapon in Naruto's hand, represented an important gold general. The Umbu minister Hatsuki Shigeru and Akira Uchiha's personal relationship was even better. In the future, in Naruto's election, he would not fully support it, but at least he would not vote against it. Woodleaf's senior advisor represented another gold general. Among the 3 senior advisors, Koharu had a good impression of him because of Kagami. This showed that there was a gap in the enemy. As another silver general, the Nara clan was Naruto's most important think tank. And he fought side by side with Shikaku Nara on the battlefield of the Land of Rain. This kind of friendship was not something that ordinary people could understand. So unconsciously, Akira Uchiha had accumulated a lot of power. These were all seeds. Once they took root and sprouted, no one could stop them, not even Sandaime Naruto. Because this was the general trend. Thinking of this, Akira Uchiha frowned. So, there is another route? Chapter 200. The cold wind from the distant earth country peeled off the yellow leaves on the branches and threw them into the air. Under such an atmosphere, the Thousand Hands clan's land seemed even more empty and dilapidated. However, in contrast, the training ground in the clan's land was somewhat magnificent and even extravagant. This facility is too new. Shina Kushina, who had never seen the world, touched the clean wall. However, perhaps she was too excited and dug out a piece of the wall. Pretending that nothing had happened, she smiled and pulled Mikoto and Nanoyu to the other side. Then, the 3 of them whispered something to each other. The friendship between girls was just that strange. They had only known each other for a day, but the 3 of them seemed to have become good friends. Rope Tree, your family actually has such a training ground. Lil Sun shook her head and clicked her tongue. He usually went to the woods for training. The lives of rich people were really hard to understand. That's not right. This place used to be dilapidated. Rope Tree was also confused. This must be Tsunade Sensei's doing. Do you still remember the second-year training? After she destroyed the training ground, she asked Sandaime Naruto to reimburse her. In the end, she even made a small profit. So, she must have found some reason to ask the village to reimburse her. Akira Uchiha pondered for a moment and gave a relatively correct answer. Let's not talk about this for now. Watergate, where are you at with your Rasengan? Show me. Watergate nodded. A ball of chakra appeared in his hand and began to spin slowly. According to Watergate's progress and the foundation he had laid earlier, he was now at the 3rd stage. During the whole process, Watergate did not use balloons. Akira Uchiha also did not use balloons when he was practicing. Practicing with props was naturally a quick way, but it was also the stupidest way. This way, the formation of Rasengan was much easier, especially in the aspect of maintaining stability. The speed of learning was also greatly increased. However, this shortcut did not allow one to experience the entire process of developing Rasengan. Mastering a ninjutsu isn't important, what's important is experiencing the whole process. Akira Uchiha didn't want Watergate to lack experience, so he didn't let him use the item. Let me show you again, Akira Uchiha said as he gestured for the rope tree to observe carefully. In fact, the number of times he used Rasengan could be counted on one hand. Although the subsequent development of Rasengan is very attractive, Rasen Shuriken is too damaging to the body, and after using it, the arm is almost useless. Before mastering Senjutsu, the benefits of studying Rasengan were far less than studying Chidori's series of ninjutsu. Under the gaze of Watergate and the rope tree, a ball of chakra quickly appeared in Akira Uchiha's palm. Under his excellent control, chakra began to rotate in a certain direction. This is the 1st stage. Generally speaking, as long as you have the basic control of chakra, it's easy to achieve. He paused and continued, if it's just to make chakra rotate in a certain direction, then this thing shouldn't be called Rasengan, but should be renamed gyroscope. So the 2nd stage of practice is to make chakra change in a certain direction. In Minato's line of sight, he saw that except for a small part of the chakra group, the rest of the chakra group either slowed down their rotation speed, or simply changed their direction and started to rotate in the opposite direction. This is the prototype of the 2nd stage of Rasengan. When you complete the 2nd step, you'll have completed 50% of Rasengan. At this time, Rasengan only has chakras tearing force and the variety of directions. In layman's terms, there are many small gyroscopes in your hand at the same time, but they don't have enough lethality. Of course, on this basis, if you can also divide some chakra to control the kunai, then the strange strength kunai throw will basically be completed. This is why strange kunai throw is a B-level ninjutsu. Akira Uchiha paused a little and continued, at this time, if you stabilize the chakra ball in your hand and further compress it. As his voice fell, the chakra ball in his hand quickly became condensed, but at the same time, the spiral remained abnormally stable. Soon, a normal-sized ball appeared in his hand. This Rasengan took nearly a minute from the beginning to the condensation. If it wasn't for taking care of Watergate and the rope tree, with his control, it would probably take less than half a second. Compared to Chidori, who had 5 seals, it was a lot faster. That's about it. Akira Uchiha casually slapped the Rasengan on a thick wooden stake next to him. In the rumbling sound, the thick wooden stake was torn in two by the Rasengan, and the outside of the broken part became very rough. At first glance, it looked like it was torn by brute force. How is it? Did you see the difficulty? Akira Uchiha looked back and asked. Rope Tree shook his head with a dumbfounded look. Watergate also smiled bitterly. I saw it clearly, but I don't know if I can really do it. My chakra control is not as good as yours. This is true. Generally, Genjutsu has a high requirement for chakra control. It can be said that Akira Uchiha's chakra control is now in the top few in Woodleaf. With Watergate's talent, there is no problem. To put it bluntly, it is a process of multitasking. As long as your control is strong enough to compress a chakra, the next step is to accumulate time and practice. Oh, right. Akira Uchiha suddenly remembered something. Watergate, do you know shadow clone technique? Yes, I saw you use it before. What's wrong? Shadow clone technique can increase control and assist in the creation of Rasengan. Akira Uchiha showed a strange smile. If you find it difficult to control, you can create a shadow clone technique to help you compress the Rasengan. Is that so? Watergate was a little hesitant. Intuition told him that Shan seemed to have some evil intentions. But since they are good friends, Watergate will trust him for the time being. What about me? What about me? Rope Tree asked eagerly. You. Break this first. Akira Uchiha said as he took out a milky white object filled with water. Rope Tree and Watergate were different. Watergate did not need to take shortcuts, but Rope Tree did. After all, the difference between the two of them was too big. So, at times like this, he needed the help of tools. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to learn. Why does this look different from ordinary balloons? Rope Tree lifted the balloon. It was filled with about 2 to 3 liters of water, and there was no sign of it breaking. This is a specially made balloon. It is very elastic. Akira Uchiha showed a strange smile again, then waved his hand and walked toward Mikoto. Chapter 201. When Akira Uchiha walked to the other side of the training ground, Shinakushina and the other two stopped chatting. Is it over there? Mikoto stood up and asked. No, they just started practicing. But it's still early for them, I can teach you guys now. Hearing this, Shinakushina, who was full of energy, flung her red hair back and looked very motivated. Nanoyu, on the other hand, was very calm. She had just started learning shurikens, and even Shinakushina, who was not good at it, was qualified to be her teacher. Akira Uchiha was very satisfied with Mikoto and Shinakushina's attitude, but he still asked, how are you guys doing with the chakra nature that I taught you guys? He had given the two of them a short training session, which mainly focused on the wind and lightning attributes of chakra. The wind attribute was mainly taught to Shinakushina, and the lightning attribute was taught to Mikoto. That's okay, I've made a lot of progress. Mikoto nodded. She had always been an obedient student, and she worked very hard to complete the things that Akira Uchiha taught her. But the little fox was a little shy and did not say anything. Shinakushina? I've been practicing too. She stuck out her tongue and acted cute. She could not admit that she had forgotten about it because she was just having fun. So, No progress? Akira Uchiha said helplessly. The main thing is that it's too difficult. I went to ask Uncle Naruto for advice, and he said that it's not suitable for me to learn at my age. Shina Kushina found herself a scapegoat at the last minute. Is that so? But as far as I know, Sandame Naruto completed 5 chakra nature changes when he was in his teens. Akira Uchiha crossed his arms and said, What? I thought he didn't know how to do it, but it turns out he was just brushing me off. Next time, I'll pull out all his beard. Shina Kushina pretended to threaten him, but no matter how you looked at it, it was cute. Mikoto and Nonaiyu laughed when they saw this. Alright, I'll deal with you later. Mikoto, show me the results of your practice. Mikoto nodded, then silently formed a hand seal. At the same time, a bolt of lightning flew out from her hand, which was pressed on the ground, and hit a wooden stake not far away. Not bad. Akira Uchiha looked at the charred marks on the wooden stake. It can be considered as a beginner. I have already grasped the most basic instability of the lightning attribute. In other words, Mikoto, you've already learned how to amplify the damage of the lightning element chakra. Okay. Mikoto answered softly, then stood up. Shina Kushina didn't think much of it. After all, she had seen more powerful ninjutsu. Nonaiyu next to her had an envious look. She was only in her first year, and she was still a standard novice. Now there are 2 paths in front of you. The first is to continue to study the nature changes of the lightning attribute, and master the other properties of the lightning attribute. The advantage of this is that you'll have a solid foundation, and the next path will be very easy. You know, I'm taking this path. After completing all the nature changes of the lightning attribute, I started to consider learning ninjutsu. If you take this path, the progress of your strength won't be seen in a short time. You need enough patience to become stronger step by step. Akira Uchiha's voice wasn't particularly loud, but the 3 of them listened very carefully. After all, this was a rare experience, and it was also the responsibility of the teacher in charge. Orochimaru gave him all this, and he had to do it seriously. The second path. Akira Uchiha thought about it and prepared the wording, simply give up the follow-up characteristics of the lightning attribute chakra nature changes, and directly focus on how to continue to amplify the damage of the lightning attribute. In this way, the ninjutsu system will be formed faster, and the growth of strength at this stage is obvious. The disadvantage is the lack of basic knowledge, and it will take a long time to make up for it in the later stage. In fact, Kakashi is a typical example of the first path. After studying all the changes of the lightning attribute, he developed Chidori, and thus became a Jonin. Sasuke, on the other hand, took the second route. He learned Chidori first, and then slowly completed the basic knowledge from Orochimaru. I choose the second path. Mikoto replied after a little thought. Akira Uchiha chose the first path because he was still in school and had more time to build a good foundation. But now it's a time of war, and he needs to improve his combat effectiveness in a short time. Okay. Akira Uchiha nodded, and at the same time, he signaled Mikoto to open her Sharingan. Observe carefully, this time I will slow down. Mikoto used Sharingan because Sharingan's insight is very strong, and in the case of slowing down, it can observe things that ordinary people can't observe. In fact, Sharingan can't copy Chidori. Although this ninjutsu is not a secret technique, it involves the nature changes of chakra. A ninja who can't change the nature of Chidori can't release Chidori without knowing the details. Therefore, those who transmigrated over and used Thousand Birds in a few days were pure nonsense. Chidori needs to master the nature changes of lightning attribute chakra before he can start learning it. In comparison, Rasengan's entry level is much lower, but the subsequent development is very troublesome. Chidori's entry level is high, but as long as you master the nature changes of chakra, the difficulty will be much easier than the subsequent development of Rasengan. So, Rasengan and Chidori are A-level ninjutsu, and it's really not easy to use them. Akira Uchiha also began to think about these things when he was in school, and with the bonus of the system, his understanding of the lightning attribute is constantly enhanced. So Akira Uchiha is now equivalent to a guide. While controlling the nature changes of lightning attribute chakra in his hand, he explained the details to Mikoto. With the further qualitative changes of chakra, the chakra in his hand began to gradually change into a dark color. You see, this is the entry level of lightning attribute chakra. If you go deeper, the originally calm chakra quickly became unstable, and at the same time, the explosion of thunder began to appear in his hand. Lightning attribute chakra begins to become extremely unstable. If you want to go further, not only do you need to perfect the control of chakra, but you also need to master an extremely contradictory point. That is, while the core of lightning attribute chakra is stable, the instability of lightning attribute chakra is maximized, just like this. As his voice fell, after the qualitative changes of chakra were further amplified, a different sound finally appeared in the explosive lightning attribute chakra. The sound of birds chirping. Along with the crisp chirping of birds, the mixed explosion sound finally subsided, and finally disappeared without a trace. And what was left was the sound that Chidori should really have. So far, Chidori has completed. You see, this is lightning release Chidori. Isn't it very simple? Akira Uchiha almost couldn't hold back the urge to look up and laugh. In his previous life, every time after the top students explained the problem, they would say, "Isn't it very simple?" Now, he had finally experienced this feeling. This ninjutsu, the difficulty is also A level, the same as Rasengan. And with the activated cells of lightning attribute chakra, it can burst out more powerful speed and piercing ability. The most important thing is, with the cooperation of Sharingan, the catching ability at high speed can also be improved. It can be said that this ninjutsu is specially made for Uchiha. Looking at the expression of the three people, Akira Uchiha quickly said, "Accidentally, the three people have the impulse to punch him in the face." Yeah. After Mikoto put away the Sharingan, she nodded seriously and carefully thought about the details in her mind. Chapter 202. The environment has a great influence on a person's life. Shina Kushina couldn't remember where she read this sentence. She didn't understand it before, but now she finally understood. For example, she herself was a good example. She used to be such a gentle, kind, and hard-working girl, but now she likes to slack off, buy a lot of snacks, stay at home and read manga. Shina Kushina quickly recalled the first half of her life. So who is the culprit behind all this? Yes, it's that hateful fox. She skillfully put the blame on Kyubi. Nine Tails, who was lying in the cage and trimming her nails, was also dumbfounded. What's wrong with me now? Didn't you say that I don't need to practice? Yes, that's what I said. What's there to practice? You see, I never practice. But even so, there are not many people in the world who can tie with me. I told you, if you want to learn the wind attribute, go to Shikaku's chakra, if you want to learn the fire attribute, go to Goku. As long as you get it, you can change any attribute of chakra. Why do you need to practice? Kyubi said disdainfully. What you said seems to make sense. Shina Kushina was a little shaken. Yes, why would I lie to you? Kyubi grabbed the cage and tried to show a kind smile. Then where can I catch Shikaku and Goku? Let me think. Kyubi thought for a second. I remember Mito told me before. One is in the sand-hidden village. The other should be in the rock-hidden village, right? What, other villages? That's too far. Then I'll learn by myself. Kushina shook her head. She couldn't even get out of Konoha. Kyubi really wanted to slap himself. If he lied to her first, he would have the final say in the future. Ah, this is bad. What's wrong, kid? Kyubi lay on the ground listlessly. Shan has finished teaching Mikoto. He's heading here now. What should we do? What about the big fox? What else can I do? Just say that you don't know how to do it. Kyubi expressed that he really couldn't understand the young lady's thoughts. That's too embarrassing. Shina Kushina leaned against the side of the cage. I don't care. Think of something for me. Kyubi was about to close his eyes and sleep when he suddenly thought of something. If it's the ninjutsu that makes meatballs, I do know how to do it. Really? How did you learn it? Shinakushina looked very surprised. TSK, there's nothing new in the ninja world. This was one of the benefits of living for a long time. In the past 1,000 years, I've seen at least 10 people use these meatballs. Kyubi curled his lips. Speaking of which, they are all imitating me. Unfortunately, they have always been imitated but never surpassed. This feeling of loneliness. Who can understand? Anyway, I can teach you. I'll even help you deal with that kid. Kyubi revealed a sly smile. But, in exchange, you know. Shinakushina. Akira Uchiha shook Shinakushina, who was distracted. What's wrong, Shun? Shinakushina, who came back to her senses, wiped her saliva. I'm going to give you a special training. Did you not sleep well last night? No. But... Shen, let me tell you something. I've actually learned the Rasengan ninjutsu. Shinakushina pretended to be deep and said. Huh? Akira Uchiha was a little confused. Could it be that Shinakushina was really pretending to be weak? Give me some space. This place is too small. It's not enough for me to perform. Shinakushina's heart was pounding. Is this big fox reliable? But for the sake of showing off in front of Shen, I'll trust it this time. After everyone left a large space, Shinakushina closed her eyes. Tens of seconds passed and Shinakushina was still preparing. Just as Akira Uchiha was about to ask, he suddenly felt a cold and oppressive chakra. Suddenly, Shinakushina opened her eyes. Her originally black pupils had turned red. Kyubi. Akira Uchiha was a little surprised. Under Mito's seal, Kyubi could not have broken the seal, right? The strangest thing was that in this state, Shinakushina's body did not emit any red chakra. Her appearance did not change at all. As if the sun was too bright for her eyes, Shinakushina raised her hand to cover her eyes. Then, she took a deep breath and showed a satisfied expression. Her actions were cool and confident. Different feelings were mixed in the girl's body, but they did not feel out of place at all. At this time, Shinakushina seemed to have a special ability. Her simple movements were incomparably elegant. In an instant, the cold and murderous atmosphere in the air was washed away. The next moment, Shinakushina raised her right hand. A Rasengan quickly appeared in her hand. However, Akira Uchiha looked up at the Rasengan. Perhaps it could no longer be called a Rasengan. This was because the Rasengan was not blue. Instead, it was mixed with orange chakra. The next moment, Shinakushina threw the Rasengan into the open space. That's right, she did throw it, just like a shuriken. The red chakra exploded on the ground, and a burst of smoke began to spread in all directions. Akira Uchiha opened his Sharingan in an instant. This kind of attack was too dense. It was difficult to rely on the eyes alone to catch the trajectory. After the smoke dissipated, a large hole appeared on the ground. This was far more powerful than a normal Rasengan, and this was only a casual blow from the opponent. Shinakushina shook her head. She seemed to be a little dissatisfied. Then, she moved her body and hooked her finger at Akira Uchiha. Do you want to fight? Akira Uchiha was also surprised. Shinakushina didn't speak. She stomped her feet on the ground and quickly rushed over. Her speed was at least twice as fast as usual. After Akira Uchiha caught Shinakushina's punch, he used taijutsu skills to neutralize the force. Then, at the next moment, Shinakushina raised her leg and smashed toward his lower abdomen. Akira Uchiha quickly jumped off the ground. Shinakushina had already stepped on the place where he just stood. With a low muffled sound, the ground quickly burst open with countless cracks. Throughout the battle, the girl didn't use ninjutsu. However, her attacks were very sharp. She simply dodged, punched, and swung her legs. Almost every attack had the effect of a one-hit kill. Because every time she attacked the weakest part of the human body. In this state, Shinakushina displayed her taijutsu skills to the extreme. During the battle, she calmly pulled out a mirror from her pocket and tidied up her hair. The entire training ground was silent. Rope Tree, Watergate and Mikoto simply stared at the battle taking place. Is this still Shinakushina? This powerful taijutsu is actually suppressing Shin. After several minutes of battle, Shinakushina sent Akira Uchiha flying with a kick. Then, she jumped onto the wall of the training ground. Using her left hand, she brushed her long hair behind her ear and said, "I've gone overboard. Kid, that's all for today. By the way, tell Flying Ape Nichiren that this old man is taking Shinakushina for a ride." Ha 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 ha. Kyubi laughed arrogantly. After putting on a show, he turned to leave. However, Shinakushina's body suddenly stiffened and she fell from the wall uncontrollably. Oh no, I was too arrogant. I forgot that this body is too weak. It can only endure for 5 minutes. That was Kyubi's final thought. Before he fainted, he saw the brat Uchiha-chan rushing towards him. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.